Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Well, the Utah Mammoth did it. They get the win. They beat Vegas 3-2. Both teams scored in the first period. It was 1-1. It was 2-2 after 2. But Vegas couldn't score in the third period, and Logan Cooley knocked a rebound in, and that was that. 3-2 the final. Logan Cooley now 2 goals in 2 playoff games. He is young, but he is coming up big. Game 3, Friday night in the Delta Center. So we got that to look forward to. We got the best of the post-game show for you right now to wrap up the Utah Mammoth's first ever postseason victory.
DJ and PK, the Utah Mammoth won their first ever playoff game on Tuesday night in Vegas, beating the Golden Knights 3-2 to tie up their best of 7 series at 1 game apiece. After Vegas took over in the third period on Sunday, erasing a 2-1 Utah lead, they picked up where they left off on Tuesday night, taking an early lead, drawing 3 of the 4 power plays and outshooting Utah 10-6 in the first period. But the Mammoth would push back. Mackenzie Weegar with the equalizer, and Utah would never trail again after he scored with 3:01 left to go in the first.
Weegar, a wrister off a stick. Rebound ends up in the net. The Mammoth get a bounce, and it's the top line cashing in to tie the game. And it's Big Mac with a goal to tie things up.
In periods 2 and 3, it was all Utah, outshooting Vegas 23-11 and drawing 3 of the 4 power plays. Dylan Gunther would give Utah their first lead.
Utah makes some changes as the Golden Knights try and get this out. They cannot. Gunther, a one-timer, and he scores! Utah's master marksman delivers, and it's Dylan Gunther's first Stanley Cup playoff goal.
It was a short 2-1 lead, though. 62 seconds later, Vegas tied it in the third. All Utah again. They just needed that go-ahead goal. Logan Cooley would give it to him, and the Mammoth would keep it.
Moving in, Gunther with a burst of speed towards the net, shoots, rebound, and they score! Logan Cooley gives Utah the lead in period 3. The kids are all right.
So coming home with the home ice advantage, Game 3, Friday at 7:30. We'll be live on the SeatGeek Plaza at 6:30 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake and Ben will be broadcasting live starting at 2 o'clock as well. So come on down, pregame party on the SeatGeek Plaza ahead of Mammoth and Vegas. Game 3 of the series, Game 4 on Monday night. The time for that game has yet to be determined. Karel Vejmelka in between the pipes stops 19 of 21 for his first career NHL playoff win. Logan Cooley becomes the youngest American player in NHL history to score 2 goals in his first 2 playoff games. The previous youngest, Utah captain Clayton Keller, when he was 22 in 2000. We heard from Cooley. We heard from Gunther after the contest. Let's hear from him right now. Cooley with that game-winning goal. Gunther with the go-ahead goal and a couple of whacks on the Vegas goaltender Carter Hart before Cooley tapped it home.
This question can be for both of you, but we've talked so much about calmness and composure and poise, especially in the playoffs. How does the difference on the bench in terms of the demeanor help you guys when you're out there and keep your level head?
Yeah, it's big. I think, there's a lot of emotions in these playoff games, a lot of ups and downs, and I think you have to just find a way to stay level-headed. Different things happen, good calls, bad calls, different momentum swings, and I think, we did a good job of staying level-headed, and, that's what we need to do moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's contagious, too. I mean, when everyone's lifting each other up, it's a good feeling. I think it feels like we're always in it no matter what, so I think that has to keep going.
Logan, you talked about watching these games growing up as a kid, getting those game winners. What did that one feel like tonight in your first ever, or your second playoff game?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's nice to get the win. It's a big goal and a big moment, and it's nice that we could kind of get the series tied up heading back home.
A lot of talk about intensity and bringing that for a full 60-minute effort pregame. What did you guys see out of that area of your team's game tonight?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, it's hard. I mean, you lose the first game, and the next one's important. we talked about being level-headed kind of since training camp, so we did a really good job of that, and we'll enjoy this one, take a little time off, and get ready for the next.
At what point do you feel like you guys found your offense tonight? What made the difference in doing so?
I think throughout the game we had some good looks early on, and it's tight checking, not a lot of room out there. It's a lot off the forecheck, rebound chances around the net. So I think we've done a good job of being good on the forecheck, getting to the net and finding some rebounds like that.
I think just chipping away, honestly. Like, they had some power plays early, and kind of a choppy game. Not everybody's into it. Then we get some power plays and don't score, but just staying with it is the biggest thing. And I think our speed just allowed us to keep going at them, keep pressuring them. Even when we scored the third goal, I thought we did a really good job of just continuing to attack.
Question for both of you guys. Kerr Yamamoto got put on your line in the March, and ever since then, it feels like he's just been clicking with you guys. Why does he fit so well with you guys, and how do you like playing with him?
Yeah, I think he just is such a smart player. Reads off, me and Gunnar really good. He seems like he's always in the right position, really poised with the puck. A positive guy, too. Keeps, us loose, and I feel like, again, we just have a lot of speed. We read off each other really well, and it's clicking right now.
Big game for Kyler Yamamoto, one of Utah's playoff veterans, now tied for the team lead in playoff scoring. 2 assists on Tuesday night in his 36th career playoff game. The first 34 came with Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Edmonton Oilers. We heard from Kyler Yamamoto after the game.
Honestly, we're a very patient team. Obviously it's a 2-3 game. It's not a high-scoring game like we had at the end of the season. So just staying patient, waiting for the opportunities to present itself, and attacking from there.
We've seen this group have really successful bounce-back efforts over the course of the regular season. Why did that battle test your group in an effort like tonight to have a tied series going back home?
I think it just shows the resilience, in our group. Obviously, we had the lead going in the third. We gave up 2 and, lost the game. But, to come back and, have that performance tonight, it shows a lot for this group right now.
How have Gunther and Cooley elevated their game in the playoffs so far?
Oh, my God. These two are unbelievable. Everything they do, very easy to play with, but, for myself, and they just use their speed. They're so quick and, heavy on pucks. They may not be the biggest guys, but very heavy on their sticks, win a lot of battles.
How did you leap up and get that puck? Did you stretch all the way and go up? I'm serious. You didn't really get a great
No, I think it was right by my shoulder. But Guns made a heck of a shot. I'm not sure how he scored so far out, but unbelievable shot.
What did you see on your touch pass on the third goal?
I saw Guns coming. Wanted to get on my forehand, but obviously he was going a little bit too fast. So tried to touch it behind him. I caught it with speed and burnt that D, and it was a good rebound goal by Cools.
And let's get head coach Andre Tourigny after his first career NHL playoff win.
I like the way our guys respond. They were, after the first game, really even kill. They stay level in their approach, and I was really proud of them for that. And it showed tonight. A little bit of nerve early in the game. I think we weathered the storm, and I like the way we progressed during the game. I think the guys were in the right place, and we progressed. It's a hard battle. They're a good team. They're structure. So we got one.
Pre-game, we talked about keeping that high level of intensity, being detail-oriented. What did you see out of those areas of your team's game tonight?
That was good. I think, like I said, we progressed during the game. There's no such thing as a perfect game for any team in the world, but I think where few adjustments help. There's still work to be done, but we will still need to improve, keep getting better. They will do the same, so it's a good step in the right direction, but there's a lot of work to be done.
Why are poise and patience the right words to describe this game?
Yeah, it's always, you need to have the right balance. You need to have poise, you need to be patient, you need to be aggressive, and you need to be intense. So if you figure it out, all of that, you let me know. But it's exactly what it is. You need to have a really good intensity. You need to be 10 out of 10 in your drive, but at the same time, you need to be calm. You need to be urgent, but you need to be patient. So you need to be disciplined. You need all of that. So it's why those guys are pros and they're unbelievable.
And as far as your team getting more pucks and bodies to the net, what did you like about the adjustments from game 1 to 2?
Well, that was good. I think I always say it's a good team on the other side. There's nothing easy out there. Everything you do, you need to earn it. So I think I like certain stuff we did offensively, especially in the second half of the game. I think we took a little bit of time to be at ease, maybe in that game or something. But I like the way we react in the second half.
So the Mammoth will be coming back home today. They'll practice tomorrow, and before you know it, it'll be Game 3 against Vegas from the Delta Center. Mike Fulton and I will have you covered all week long on Mammoth Daily, wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple, Spotify, Utah Mammoth YouTube page, Mammoth Plus, and SCG Plus. DJ and PK, have a good rest of the Wednesday, and we'll talk to you coming up. We've now got a guaranteed series to go at least 5.
All right, there's the best of the post-game show, and back at it Friday and Monday, games 3 and 4 in the Delta Center. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to pivot to college basketball and the NBA playoffs. Steve Cleveland giving LeBron James the career advice he never knew he needed. Plus, the portal is now closed, and if there's one thing we've noticed, it's that thing that isn't sustainable, it looks sustainable. We'll get to that next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Steve Cleveland joined us yesterday. We talked a lot of college basketball. We also talked about LeBron and the Lakers. They won Game 2 last night. They beat Houston 101-94. LeBron had another really good game. 28 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. They are up 2-0 on the Rockets. We'll get to the NBA and LeBron with Steve, but we start off with college basketball. And the transfer portal is now officially closed. Kind of looks familiar, though, doesn't it? Here's Steve. Coach, good morning.
Good morning.
We've covered many times how much college sports has changed since you were the head coach at BYU and Fresno State. Recruiting's different. The transfer portal is very different. And Pika was just saying a day or two ago, we keep hearing that this is unsustainable, but it keeps happening every year. At what point are we going to say, well, it is sustainable, especially for this small group of people who have the most cash, and the people who have less cash is just sustainable at a different level? Are you starting to see the same thing? You talk to any friends in coaching? Because it doesn't seem like anything's slowing down, which means this is sustainable.
I believe it is sustainable. I don't know what it'll look like 5 years from now, but I'm okay with it, to be honest with you. I mean, it's working. It's gonna. I think as we go through this thing over the next year, 2 or 3, that I think we'll just see and we'll look back and say, yeah, this has been sustainable. This is what it is. The transfer portal is what it is. And transfers coming and going, and there's lots of change, and maybe that makes people feel uncomfortable. But I also think that there's more hope. And, a portal situation here, a transfer here, wherever the circumstances are, there's opportunities to get better. And you can turn a program around pretty quickly with a couple of transfers, whatever the circumstances are in terms of international opportunities. I don't think it's going away, and I think it's good for the game. And it's kind of what we're getting used to now. So I'm not overwhelmed by it. I think that it's going to be what it is, and there's going to be portal madness. That's not going away. And what's been kind of fun recently is, especially at BYU, where you've got guys now that are healthy, but obviously Rob Wright coming back, Colin Chandler out of Kentucky coming for all intents and purposes, coming back home and having a huge impact for BYU, and makes them much more balanced offensively. And, I have one quick question for you because it's been on my mind. What is Dawson Baker's status?
I think he's going to try to get the year back and be eligible.
Okay, that's what I thought. And I thought if it was something different, you guys would know. Well, that'd be awesome if he can get it back, for BYU especially. I mean, just think a little bit about if he hadn't been hurt last year and what BYU would have looked like. There's probably a few more wins in that situation, and who knows where it could have taken him. But that'd be really cool if Dawson Baker could get his eligibility back and get that year back. Good for BYU.
Yeah, it's funny. Last year, they were so top heavy, right, with three guys, and it's like if Davis or somebody else, Kostic, if they hit 2 threes, it's like you could just feel, even if you weren't there, but the fan base, all right, we're going to have somebody else who can contribute. And it was never really materialized from the offensive standpoint, and then Saunders goes out and it makes it even worse.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you think that maybe it was a trial and error. They had to go in that direction because DeBonce is a once in a who knows how many year type player, so you go all in. I can see what Kevin Young is thinking, but now maybe step back, spread out the money a little bit more. You bring in a kid like Waylon who has been around, and he can hit a basket, and he's got some athletic ability. So the team may not be as top heavy, but it's a team that can have some more balance, and so maybe you don't have a 25-point scorer, but you got 2, 3, maybe even 4 guys who can hit in double figures, and it might be the better way to win.
I completely agree with you. I love the fact that you put that there's a balance in the depth of this team now. And, obviously it starts with Rob Wright, and you get a guy like Colin Chandler out of Kentucky where, he can score it and do different things, which you just mentioned. There just seems to be a different balance. And I think that, obviously there's going to be some international players. There'll be some freshman class. If Dawson Baker could get that year back, Jake Wall and, Bruce Branch. I mean, you've got situations where, man, you're getting better, and really at the look of this team right now, if those things click and, you got right back, you got Colin Chandler, you're in a situation, Dawson Baker maybe is there, Bruce Branch, Jake Wall, and I mean, all of a sudden this team has more depth and more experience at different schools and different circumstances. So BYU is looking to be a great off-season for them, and who knows what's happening internationally and recruiting-wise. There's still a lot of that going on. So I think the outlook for BYU is good from what's happening with transfer portal, what's happening with guys coming back, and people getting healthy.
Michigan obviously just started 5 transfers and won the championship. So how little should high school recruiting matter going forward? Should they just be sending guys off to Big Sky or Big West schools or wherever and let them play and develop there? Is it worth having 1, 2, 3, I don't know what the number is, even 4 developmental guys on your roster?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I look at this, and I think that just is going to happen through the process. That we start with a portal, we start with transfers, and how that impacts teams, guys that get healthy. I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, Michigan brings in 5 guys, and with what happens with the portal, with what happens with international recruiting, I just think that's the world we live in now, and you accept it and realize. And when you watch a team like you guys just both mentioned, where Michigan, has 5 transfers, we do whatever we got to do to win. And I don't think it's going to be some consistent process that just happens. And I just think it's going to be different year in and year out. And there's so many different ways to build a program now, and you can do it quickly. Or you can, maybe look at it more things that are more sustainable. But honestly, the world I see and what's happening is this is just how it's going to be, and the opportunity to really build a program and do it quickly through the portal or through transfers or through the international. I just think that's the world we live in. We accept it, and I think that's what coaches are doing now. We're recruiting all over the world. Whether they're transfers or whether they're international players or wherever they've come from, that's just what it's going to be, and I just don't think it's going to change.
Brian Santiago was asked about private equity. We know the Utah is interested in that and wants to do that, and he said he doesn't think that would be a situation for BYU to get involved in. And we hear that BYU, they want their sports to be self-sustaining. What did that mean for you guys as far as basketball? Did you get involved in that to make sure that whatever money you made, you were not overspending that?
Yeah, it was way different back then. I mean, the game is still the game, but how we go about soliciting new players and transfers and whatever the circumstances are, we just weren't involved in that. And today, everyone's very involved in it. We're trying to find guys that can play and win championships, and we did it kind of the old-fashioned way, just through recruiting. And yes, there were some transfers, which really helped mid-season sometimes, late season. A guy like Trent Whiting, who came in and played for a semester and had an impact, and we win a championship. So back then, there were these things happening, and there were changes. But today, it just seems like Pandora's box. It's just wide open, and I just don't see that changing personally. That's what we're looking at. That's what it's going to be, and I think everybody will be better for it. There's just more opportunities to be successful and more opportunities for a school like BYU to not only, getting a Rob Wright back, getting Colin Chandler, getting these guys, if Dawson Baker were to get a year, it gives them depth and gives them an opportunity to be a really, really special team.
I want to transition to the NBA for a second. You have followed the Lakers your whole life. You went to UC Irvine. Obviously, there's tons of Laker fans in Fresno. They're all over California. And you've watched LeBron James his whole career. There's this anticipation, this guy, he's at 41 now. He's going to retire. This is it. And then you watch this playoff game. And granted, there's a lot of star power out. I think the two teams combined were missing 4 players who get paid $140 million. But his ability to take that game over, make a bunch of role players better, get 8 assists in the first period, end up with a double-double to make sure his team wins, there's still plenty in the tank there. He's not what he was, 10 years ago, but he's still a really good player. I'm sure he's dying for your career advice, Steve. Would you tell him, hey, go out while you still got something in the tank and leave us wanting more? Is it worth going to another team if you can't work it out with the Lakers? What would you tell him?
I'd stay where you are, man. He's in an area where he's beloved, and he's a guy. I mean, you look at LeBron. This past week, he goes 21, 6, and 7, has 19 points, 13 assists in a ball game. The Lakers beat the Rockets, and you're right. LeBron looked like he was, 23 years old again. I mean, it's just incredible, his sustainability. And I think he takes care of his body. We know that. We've read things, in terms of him putting himself, and he doesn't have to play, significant minutes, though we find watching these games and all of a sudden it's prime time, he's on the floor. And, and I think what he does, he makes that team better. I just love the fact that, he had 21, 6, and 7, had 13 assists in a recent game, and he still draws that kind of attention. And so I love watching him. I know the end is coming soon, but wouldn't it be really something special if they got on a run and got deep into the playoffs, and LeBron has a real impact on winning a championship? Now, whether he can do that over a whole period of time, I don't know. I mean, OKC seems to be a team that Minnesota has been good. Spurs, Wemby has been better than ever. And and you've got, even with the Magic, with Banchero, Wagner, Carter, there's so many great players. And the fact that LeBron is in the midst of all of that and competing and making a real difference is just a phenomena that I don't know we'll ever see again, to be honest with you. It's just hard to believe that anybody that could do what he's doing and being successful on and off the court, taking care of his body. It's just fun to watch him. And I grew up a Laker fan, like a lot of people, and not that I have a real connection. Well, anytime you still have a guy like LeBron, I want to watch him play. It's something we don't want to. I don't want to take it for granted that I look back and think, man, I should have spent more time. I should have watched more games. This guy is a legend, and it's just fun to watch. And the fact that I grew up being a Laker fan doesn't hurt either.
And we always hear about the NBA favoring the glamour spots or the players wanting to go to the glamour spots. But but do you find a level of, I don't know what the word would be, but maybe just a level of innocence in terms of it looks like the two best teams, or maybe I'll extend it out to the three best teams in the West. We'll see how it plays out. But they're not exactly the sexiest markets in San Antonio, Oklahoma City, and Denver. And you look at how those teams were all constructed. Obviously, a huge draft, or huge trade with SGA, but then everybody else basically was drafted and developed, which means, all right, that ought to send the message, well, this opportunity is for everybody if you seize it.
Yeah, I just watching some early NBA stuff for me. I've been kind of committed to college, and then all of a sudden here we have this league, and it's funny because when I was kind of preparing today, I thought who's having the greatest influence here, and really when you look at Wemby and what he's doing, and in a situation where you just gotta love his. I mean, he's the face of the NBA. I mean, he's going to be here for a while. Hopefully, no serious injuries and such. But you look at the Magic. You look at Monchero and Wagner and Carter and Bain, and you look at these guys now who I'm enjoying. I get so involved in college stuff, but what I'm finding just as am reading and watching is that I'm kind of falling in love with the NBA again. And there's just so many really, really great stories, and it's just been fun to see that happen. And Minnesota, Denver, the Lakers, the Thunder, the Spurs. I mean, the playoffs are going to be amazing. It's going to be great, captivating basketball, and I'm excited to kind of reconnect with the NBA after spending a lot of time just on the college game and even the high school stuff. So I'm excited about the upcoming couple months and what's all going to take place here.
All right, there's Steve Cleveland. When we come back, Brian Dunseth looking ahead to tonight's game with Lionel Messi and Miami visiting RSL. That's next. Stay with us.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Brian Dunseth joined us yesterday late in the show to look ahead to Messi and Miami visiting RSL tonight. Sellout crowd expected. The secondary market, I checked SeatGeek, it's like $400 for a standing room only ticket. Crazy. Here's Brian Dunseth with PK and I on the Zone. You bounce around the league calling games. How did you happen to end up with RSL and Messi?
Yeah. Well, first off, let's not imply like I had a choice. When I get the schedule, I get the schedule. So, yeah, listen, I think, obviously when the announcement happened that Lionel Messi for the first time was coming to Salt Lake City along with Inter Miami, it reminded me a lot of when Dave Checketts brought Real Madrid to play Real Salt Lake ahead of the announcement that they were breaking ground at what is now America First Field. I think at the time, I was joking with you. I was like, that's like taking the New York Yankees to Timbuktu, bringing Real Madrid here to Salt Lake City. But that was the first of some really landmark moments. And understanding what the power of Lionel Messi is. I've called his games with Argentina. I've called his games with Inter Miami at the FIFA Club World Cup. I called games last season down in Miami or Fort Lauderdale, more specific, now after they've opened new stadium. And to know that the casual fan, and listen, I'm from Southern California. I had friends that went out to the Coliseum to watch LAFC beat Inter Miami, and since then have gone to multiple games at BMO Stadium, have become LAFC fans. Understanding what is kind of the idea of the circus and getting the opportunity to see, for me, the greatest of all time, surpassing Pele, Maradona, certainly ahead of Cristiano Ronaldo in my world, to know that all of kind of soccer fans or those that are aware of a guy like Lionel Messi's name is going to be in the state of Utah is not only an unbelievable opportunity for those that get to watch it, but more importantly, huge opportunity for Real Salt Lake to convert some soccer fans that aren't necessarily RSL fans. So for me, for Tio Max, really, really excited. We have got this game, and then we have the game on Saturday down in Miami against the New England Revolution, and a turbulent kind of couple of weeks with Javier Mascherano stepping down as head coach of Inter Miami and the search for a new manager for Lionel Messi and company.
You speak of Salt Lake, right? And it's a one-shot deal. How about going bigger picture in terms of what it does for the league and the sport in the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw that at the weekend, 75,000 at Mile High Stadium. And listen, I think it was a unique decision for RSL to stay and keep that game at America First Field. I think very easily, they could have gone to a bigger venue. Obviously, that has commercial and financial ramification and trickle-down effects in terms of what your entire gate take-home is. But again, I think for the league itself, it's never going to be lost on me the power of David Beckham's decision to come to the LA Galaxy. I think and I don't think he gets enough credit, to be quite honest with you. I think he changed the trajectory of Major League Soccer as a whole. I think you're seeing that with expansion slowing down and multi-billion-dollar ownership models starting to be created, especially here. I mean, who would have had soccer in Utah having four different billion-dollar owners invested over the last 6 to 8 years? So again, how does RSL take advantage of this opportunity? I'll be really honest with you. It's walking away with a full 3 points, a dominant performance, and still giving the fans what they want, which is an opportunity to see one of the if not the most elite player we've ever seen in the modern game.
Well, one thing fans want to walk away with is entertainment, and the criticism you've heard since you were playing at Cal State Fullerton for those 3 glorious semesters.
Yeah,
there's not enough goals. This game sets up as there's going to be a lot of goals, and you just mentioned the game, Miami's last game at Colorado on the weekend. They won 3-2, and Messi scored twice. RSL played later that night. They won 4-2, and that's a game that could have easily had a 7th, 8th, or 9th goal in it. There were so many good chances in that game. So both these teams set up really good attacking, got some issues defending. So, first 1 to 3 or 4 wins this game.
Yeah, I mean, DJ, you and I have done so many games together, hundreds of games together, and we suffered. Oh, boy, did we suffer on some 30-minute post-game shows.
There were some
sometimes. PK, sometimes DJ would even leave me alone for the post-game show.
He only happened one time. That was an emergency.
He can tell you that story after we get off air.
That's off the air, big guy.
Bacon was calling?
Bacon was calling.
I was like, how many more segments am I doing this show by myself?
Oh, you get one segment. You mentioned it all.
I've been there.
If one segment includes 3 interviews and 2 highlight packages for
it is a long segment.
Upcoming matches. And both Kenny Neal's like, all right, well, we're going to do this. We'll see what happens. Oh, our producer, director extraordinaire.
Let's just say Chicago had to leave that stadium after I was done with it. All right, enough.
Well, what's even better is Max and I did the Sung Hyung Min debut for LAFC, and because they're playing their games downtown in Chicago now at Soldier Field, it was the first time we were out there for a conflict, and we didn't even have monitors for like 35 minutes. So trust me, that stadium is elite for all of the more indifferent reasons.
Yeah.
To your question
to the
about
point,
goals.
lots of goals. Lots of goals Wednesday night, right?
Yeah, listen, I think the loss against Vancouver in the very first game of the season should have been completely different. 1-0 on the road. Since then, 6 games with multi-goals, 2+ goals per match. And what's impressive is they're doing it with the kids, obviously with Gozo and Herzakani, Solon's the draft pick. He's already at 5 goals this season. But more importantly, now you're getting Guillermo, you're getting Olatunji, you're getting Spearings. Now you're going to get Sanabria back into the side after paperwork issues. There was a lot of adversity at the start of the year, and now it's the opportunity for the first time ever for Real Salt Lake to go 5-0-0, 5 wins, 0 losses, 0 draws to start the season. And on top of that, they're an incredible run of form. So credit to Jason Christ, credit to Kurt Schmid, credit to Tony Beltran, credit to Miller Sports and Entertainment, and credit to Pablo Mastroeni and his new staff for making some tough decisions in the offseason to head in different directions, to monetize whatever was left in the assets that were fading, and then to bring in so many different players that fit this system perfectly. DJ, you and I have been around the team for a long time. In previous ownership, it was a lean, mean fighting machine. Now you're seeing $16 million spent in this offseason. You're seeing an influx of difference makers, of game changers that are already added to the likes of Noel Kauskin, Diego Luna, Justin Glad, Rafa Gabral, etc. And you're right. This is set up for multiple games. The question is, how do you get past the impact moment of standing in the tunnel with guys like Lionel Messi, Rodrigo De Paul, et cetera, get on the field, put on a show, push away all that anxiety, and then tactically, how does Pablo get the best out of his group while minimizing everything that we already know what Lionel Messi and company are capable of doing?
Man, you just gave a comprehensive answer. I had about 5 questions, and you hit on all of those. So I'll move on to something else. I was going to ask you about the ownership or ask you about the surprise of the team and the youth, but you already hit on that. Last week when we had on Pablo, I asked him about Messi coming in, and I don't know, DJ, you can disagree if you want, but I got the impression that, okay, he's all that, and he's got the rep and everything, and he's an international figure, but he didn't really want to talk about that. It seemed like he wanted to talk about his team. He's saying, let's not get starstruck about him. Let's worry about ourselves. And to me, I thought maybe he would have celebrated it a little bit more of this man coming to town, but it seemed more as about his club, which I think that is the focus, probably what they're going to need to be able to win, right?
Yeah, listen, I understand. We've all been around this game. We've all been around professional sports long enough to recognize when there's a certain mindset trying to be created. And, you know, we've joked around before my conversations with you guys about Pops. I was roommates with Pablo on the national team. I played with him in Miami. He is as real as you're ever going to get as a human being. But the thing about Pablo is that if you were to sit there and say, man, what a beautiful day. Like, look at the trees. Pablo would be like, yeah, but the roots, the roots under the ground and the nourishment of life. And you're just like, holy moly, what has happened? What did I just walk into? And that's Pops. And that's the brilliance about Pablo, because he's the guy that you want to fight for. He's the guy you want to play for. Obviously, he's been at a World Cup. He's played at the highest level. And when you talk about an absolute competitor, the only thing that's close in terms of a reference point to Real Salt Lake would be that he and Kyle Beckerman are cut from the same DNA strand, where the moment that they walk in the locker room, it's high fives, it's hugs, it's vibes. And the moment that they cross that line, they are ruthless competitors that want to tear your heart out and show it to you. So for the standard that's being set, I think that mentality is being cultivated. It's more about us than it is about them. But I would think it would be naive in a private moment to suggest that Pablo isn't looking forward to the opportunity because it's been a while. And the last time they went down to Miami, I think they put a good account in for themselves in the second half. But how do you manage and manipulate a moment where also, the variation in this conversation is it's an Eastern Conference opponent. So it's a great opportunity for a big pop and not having to deal with the proverbial 6-point swing of a game against a Western Conference opponent. These are the moments you got to take advantage of. And this will be the biggest match that we've seen probably historically for different reasons at America First Field. And I cannot wait to get inside of that stadium because I know all the fans are going to try to get there early to get as many pictures, as many videos, as many TikToks, as many Instagrams as they possibly can if it's anything like what we saw out in Harriman yesterday afternoon when Miami was training at the facility.
I introduced you as Apple TV's Brian Dunseth. Of course, that shorts you because you also work for TNT, and you're on the pregame, halftime, and postgame for U.S. national team telecasts. And I'm curious what you think. What has Diego Luna accomplished here as far as making the World Cup roster? What does he still need to accomplish? Where do you think he stands in that process?
DJ, you keep dropping this resume. Not only am I going to have to Venmo you, but you might get me that elusive Rocky Mountain Emmy at some point. So I appreciate all those. What does Diego Luna have to do? Well, he's got to play. And I would say that 2 weeks ago, the rescheduling of the game in Seattle didn't help, right? Because he needs as many minutes and as many games, as many opportunities to really, I think, solidify, reiterate to Mauricio Pochettino that he's the guy. I was understanding of him being left off, Diego Luna being left off the roster heading into the Portugal and the Belgian game, because it was for all the obvious reasons. It was for the reason that he had a knee injury, he was returning from that knee injury, and he had only played, a short spurt. And listen, I've been around Mauricio Pochettino for the better part of 2 years now, and the one thing that he's always really talked about is I've got to make sure that these guys are in the best run of form, in the best fitness, and the best confidence for making this World Cup roster. So when I choose my World Cup roster, these guys are absolutely flying. That's come with some really interesting decisions, elements, and justifications from Mauricio Pochettino. The one thing there's two things that really play into the favor of Diego Luna. Number one, Patrick Agyemang tore his Achilles tendon, probably within 7 days of departing U.S. camp after the game against Belgium. He was going to play an impact role because there was really no one like his player profile, meaning his size, his athleticism, the way he plays in this roster. He was different than Flo Balogun and Ricardo Pepi. So that will have significant effects on Diego Luna because that'll open up another attacking position. On top of that, Gio Reyna, who for me is really a unicorn and a competitor, a 1v1 competitor for that number 10 spot in that midfield. He's only played 5 minutes since returning to Germany after only playing around 30 minutes in the 2 games. And one of the things that Mauricio Pochettino was asking was, could Gio Reyna stay as healthy as possible despite playing very minimal minutes? And that's a big question mark. So the great news, Diego Luna in the past 2 games has scored in the 4th minute and the 5th minute, respectively. I think he's been really strong. He sees the game, he plays the game, and I found myself during the Portugal and Belgium match, DJ, thinking to myself, man, 60th minute, 70th minute, this would be a great time to have a great pop in the crowd for a guy like Diego Luna to step on the field. Instantaneously recognizable the moment that he steps on the field for club or country. And despite probably disappointment for the Gold Cup final against Mexico for his individual performance, I think he's been fantastic every time he's put on the U.S. men's national team jersey. So a huge, huge opportunity. And don't think for a second that Jesus Perez, Miggy, Tony Jimenez, all the staff members for U.S. Soccer won't be paying attention this game to see how Diego Luna gets on against Lionel Messi and Inter Miami.
You touched on the new ownership. Are we with this new ownership, and they got a little bit of a rivalry with the Jazz ownership there, and not really discussed in the community, but it's out there. Do you think that we are set up, or they are set up for let's try to spit it out, sustained success, that this isn't just, what they had a couple years ago and they had a great first half and then it petered out, that maybe we can have a run here?
I hope so. But then again, I thought that was going to be the case when David Blitzer had majority ownership and Ryan Smith was involved. And the moment that, NHL hockey was confirmed, Ryan Smith was really no longer around. That was at least my perception of calling games at the stadium. Listen, I don't think it's lost on anybody the narrative that was created around the Utah Jazz previous to their, post their ownership or during their ownership. What I can speak to is just my own perception. I think with these additions in this winter transfer window and the departures, I think there's been subtraction has equaled multiplication. And by that, I mean that Pablo has got a new staff that I think are all on the same page. And I think all of these players were specifically brought in to be built inside of this new playing structure with 3 in the back. And that's huge because not too often you have this real primordial kind of conflict and battle within any team in Major League Soccer. That is, how do I develop local players? How do I identify the best young talent in the country? How do I get them within my academy? How do then I push them into Real Monarchs and or the first team, while having an owner that from public pressure needs to spend millions and millions of dollars just not to compete, just to maintain their status of competition in the Western Conference with the nuclear arms spending that's happening. And on top of that, how does a general manager or a sporting director pick the right players that then the coach has this philosophy, this tactical nuance of trying to get the best out of? So it's a yin and yang battle constantly. But so far, so good. I think Steve Starks and everybody involved in the partnership and seeing, Scott Crace taking a step back from the Blitzer group, and then Jason Kreis having a huge role and being, I think so far, knocking it out of the park with the decision-making behind the scenes on both the Royals and RSL and the academy setup and the infrastructure behind the scenes. You got soccer people making soccer decisions, and so far, I think the support of Miller Sports and Entertainment has been obvious. And my hope is that it's just the beginning of turning Real Salt Lake into a perennial contender on this Western Conference.
You know, certainly I think the Miller Group led by Steve Starks has done a great job of threading the needle and figuring out what was missing, but at the same time not changing stuff that was working. You know, front office executives, scouts, Pablo in the coaching roles, some of the players who've stayed. Great that they held on to those. They didn't need to change everything, but they have spent money. But Dunny, to PK's point about 2 years ago, selling Gomez, and I get it, and they're going to flip the calendar, and it's a problem right now, but selling him in the middle of the year, I mean, there was no way for the team to recreate what they lost. And then Chicho created his own problems, and that snowballed things further. If Luna goes to the World Cup and stars, and then there's this notion that maybe Gozo could go, if one or both of those guys gets moved to Europe for big money, this team's going to look pretty different pretty quickly. And probably not for the better.
Yeah, I get it, and that's always a concern. Listen, for Andres Gomez, $13 million, you got to take that money. I mean, he had 1 6-month window, and he hasn't, by the way, hasn't even been close to the player that he was at Real Salt Lake during those 6 months. He went to France, flared out spectacularly, and now is down in Brazil. Listen, I take your point in full. There was in that we have to acknowledge the timeline of the sale and the process. The fact that if owners are on their way out, they're not willing to spend money on a product that they're just going to obviously sell and cash in on. Yep. New incoming ownership has to bet in. They have to actually have full control, documents signed, to be able to go and actually spend that money. And then behind the scenes, inevitably in that transition of power, you're going to have power struggles. And the power struggle ultimately is one with Jason Kreis coming back to the club and be given more and more of the ability and the aptitude of making great decisions, regardless of however the tenure of a manager looked, post his departure from RSL. So you're right. There's a lot of, as I said, when Deloy Hansen was forced to give up ownership, I continue to say next to you on that desk, pregame, postgame, there are great people inside this club that know exactly what it takes for this team to compete at the highest level. And I think this year in particular, we're starting to see all of those base formulas. But to your point, RSL inadvertently backed themselves into a really tidy corner. And that is, if you're going to sell Andres Gomez for $13 million, how can you possibly sell either to the league from a perception-wise or from a fan base who's putting their hard-earned money and their credit cards down to go watch these teams? How can you justify selling Diego Luna for anything less than $10 million? And if you're looking at comparing player profiles, if you said to me today, and I say this with all due respect to both players that I'm about to name, if you said, if Diego Luna has a higher chance, a higher ceiling of leaving versus Xavier Gozo having a higher ceiling, higher chance of leaving, I would say right now, Xavier Gozo goes for more money than Diego Luna would go for on the international market, just because his player profile, his athleticism, his size, and the fact that he runs that line is a different conversation than the way that Luna plays that pocket 10. So two different players, two different profiles. But if you said to me right now, if I predicted which one to go for higher money, I would say that Gozo would go for higher money.
All right, there's Brian Dunseth. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NHL.
Keller relays one back to Sergachev across. Uyghur arrested off a stick. Rebound ends up in the net. The Mammoth get a bounce, and it's the top line cashing in to tie the game. Utah makes some changes as the Golden Knights try and get this out. They cannot. Gunther, a one-timer, and he scores! Utah's master marksman delivers, and it's Dylan Gunther's first Stanley Stanley Cup playoff goal. Dylan Gunther moving in. Gunther with a burst of speed towards the net. Shoots! Rebound! And they score! Logan Cooley gives Utah the lead in period 3. The kids are all right.
And the Utah Mammoth get the win 3-2 in Las Vegas. The series tied 1-1. PK Logan Cooley. He's young, he's inexperienced, but 2 goals in his first 2 playoff games, a game winner. Awfully good start.
Oh, yeah, the kid's all right. Mommy's all right. Daddy's all right. Everything is all right.
A series that we were told would be 2-2 after 4 games is 1-1 after 2 games, coming back to Utah. Mackenzie Weegar, that was a fortunate bounce there. Dylan Gunther, the one-timer, well, he's done that actually dozens of times. That was right in his wheelhouse, both literally and figuratively. So, how'd you like that last 6 minutes? That feel pretty tense? We always hear about playoff hockey. It's the best. Feel the tension in the place?
I had no tension. To me, it's sports, but not really. I don't think in hockey, because things happen so fast, it's not like dribbling a basketball or fouling off 3 pitches and the intensity builds. I just think that you go for 60 minutes as hard as you can, and whatever happens is something that happens.
They will go again Friday night, Game 3 at the Delta Center. Elsewhere, Tampa Bay beat Montreal 3-2 in OT, so that series is 1-1. Boston, this time they protect the lead. They beat Buffalo 4-2. That series is 1-1. And Colorado beats the LA Kings 2-1, and they are up 2-0 in that series. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
San Antonio Spurs star Victor Wembanyama has a concussion after a face-first fall. He played just 12 minutes of the Spurs playoff game with the Blazers. And with him limited to just 12 minutes after that concussion, the Blazers were able to win the game 106-103. That series is now tied 1-1. And Victor is TBD for Game 3. Concussions, historically, a week to 10 days, but everyone is different. We'll see what they do with him.
Okay.
A major loss. It makes me think, I saw an interview a couple weeks ago with Stacey King, PK, who played, won 3 titles with the Bulls in the first Jordan three-peat, and now he's a Kings broadcaster, and he was asked about the MVP. And he said, well, there's 3 players who are head and shoulders above the rest of the league. He said, but if the word is valuable, he says, if you take SG off Oklahoma City, they're probably still top 4 home court in the first round. He said, if you take the Joker off of the Nuggets, he said they're probably a play-in team, probably between 7 and 10. But he said, no, I think if you take Wembanyama off the Spurs, he said, I'm not even sure they could make the play-in. He's the most valuable as team. All of them are awesome, but the other teams have more players around them. So there's the Spurs without Wembanyama and a playoff loss.
Yeah, I think Stacey King is with the Bulls, not the Kings. But
sorry, yes, the Bulls, yes.
Unless his name was Stacey Bulls, that'd be cool.
Nope, no, Stacey King with the Bulls, sorry. And we watch these playoffs through the lens of the Jazz and a rebuild, and how good can the young guys be, and how soon can they be good? And how about VJ Edgecombe? 30 points, 10 rebounds, number 4 pick in the draft, rookie. Look at him get it done.
I think that's what we were talking about, but I believe, not to continue to correct you, but I believe Edgecombe was the 3rd pick of the draft. Connie Knippel was 4th.
You're right.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday, how the teams that drafted ahead of the Jazz with Ace Bailey, would any of those teams want to trade? Seems like and Dylan Harper's with not getting as much opportunity because the Spurs have a little bit of a decent backcourt there, and Edgecombe was right there as well as anybody, that as far as there'd be no way that Philly would say, unless you can get Cooper Flagg, but I mean, that's not irrelevant because he wasn't available when Philadelphia drafted. And so these guys seem to be all satisfied with their top 5 picks, and that's pretty good. If you redrafted, well, it's only been 1 year, so it didn't really count, but it looks like in 5-10 years, if you redraft, who knows what's going to happen, but all these guys would be satisfied And Edgecombe had the NBA body and is making an impact right off the bat. They've got to be excited. They've got to be ecstatic that they were able to get him.
Philly beats Boston 111-97, so that series is 1-1. And the Lakers beat the Rockets again, 101-94. LeBron had another big game. Durant did play in this one, but the Lakers still win, 101-94.
Oh, yeah, I think it was all about the backcourt of Smart and Kennard. They were like 16 of 26 and 8 of 13 from 3. If they're going to play like that, then it doesn't matter who you don't have. I don't know that they can play like that a lot, but good for them that they did it 2 games in a row, particularly Kennard.
Orlando at Detroit tonight, 5 o'clock. Orlando won the opener in that series. Phoenix at Oklahoma City at 7:30. And the Thunder rolled in Game 1 in that series. So there's your playoff doubleheader tonight. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua, former Orem High and BYU star, will be a full participant in the team's offseason program, according to Sean McVay, the head coach. Puka checked himself into rehab earlier in the offseason. He's been hit with a lawsuit by a woman alleging he made an unprovoked anti-Semitic statement and later bit her on the shoulder. So the legal stuff will continue, but Sean McVay says Nacua will be with the Rams.
Put your teeth on my shoulder. Woo! Not to say that happened, but I just wanted to change the lyrics and sing that song.
Cleveland Browns quarterback Shedeur Sanders says the Browns' new OC Todd Monken has brought a new vibe and a new energy to the franchise. Sanders splitting first-team reps with Deshaun Watson, currently in Cleveland.
Way to go.
Patriots coach Mike Vrabel told reporters, I've had some difficult conversations with people I care about, my family, the organization, the coaches and players. In the aftermath of the photos of him with NFL reporter Diana Rossini in a hot tub, published by the New York Post.
Yeah, you're not going to get me to have any interest in that story. And to continue on the correction, Todd Monken is the head coach, not the OC for the...
Former Pittsburgh Steelers coach Mike Tomlin will be working as a studio analyst for NBC Sports this fall. Longtime coach going to the TV booth, just like Cowher did. Different network, but
I think he's going to go do the draft right in the hometown. It's in Pittsburgh. Or as they're calling it, Pittsburgh. Get it? Pittsburgh.
Oh, draft humor. Cool. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
Indiana coach Curt Cignetti said he'd overseen a defense-dominated spring the past few weeks as the Hoosiers try to repeat after a perfect season and a national championship. He said they have more depth and more talent this year.
I think he's trying to set a tone. We're better than we were last year and trying to get his guys to believe it.
Pretty difficult to repeat what they just did. We'll see how close they get or if they pull it off.
Well, I mean, they don't have to go perfect to win it all.
No, seems like most champions lately haven't. Ohio State the year before didn't. I guess Michigan did, so 2 of 3 recently. But there have been plenty of one-loss teams. And the president, Donald Trump, repeating his call for Congress to pass legislation that would rein in college sports at a time athletes are allowed to move freely and command salaries that stagger some of us. He made the comments as more than 100 athletes from 7 different teams were at the White House celebrating NCAA championships in 2025.
I would go to the White House to celebrate no matter who was in charge.
Yep.
Might be the only time I get there. And I've never been there. That would be cool to be in that facility, in that structure, in that crib.
Huh. I was in it once when I was in high school, the East Wing that's been torn down now. I wish I remembered more of it. But I remember the long wait in security to get in, and now with security, you don't even get as close as you used to. So, DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Well, the Mets had the lead at home against Minnesota, but Minnesota comes back and wins the game 5-3. So that's 12 straight losses for the Mets. Combination of bad baseball and bad luck, PK. I mean, 12 in a row, you think they'd win one. Even if they weren't very good, you think they'd occasionally pull out a game here or there. This is a massive streak.
The longest since 2002 for them.
And because we're all talking about the Mets, nobody is really talking about the Phillies, who've lost 7 in a row. They were beaten by the Cubs, who've won 7 in a row. Two teams going opposite directions in the last week here. And Schwarber went deep, and Harper hit a 2-run homer, and it wasn't enough, and the Cubs win 7-4.
And the Royals had lost 8 in a row, but they broke that streak. It's amazing, streaking.
Giants beat Yamamoto 3-1. Dodgers held to 1 run on 3 hits.
Fire Dave Roberts.
I don't think so.
Extend Dave Roberts.
Give him another week. You know, for all the high-scoring games we have seen in Denver, a 1-0 game there. That was a little surprising. And load management for Miller. They didn't bring him out of the bullpen with his long scoreless streak.
And the run came on a bases-loaded walk.
Yeah. A 2-out rally. And there was a double, I think, to get it started, but they had a hit by batter hit by a pitch and then a walk.
Man, I can never get anything past you. You always have explicit detail beyond what I said.
I messed up multiple times.
Did we really need to know how the bases were loaded?
You've got multiple things past me. Clearly.
I can pick some obscure thing, and I'll say something off the top, and then you'll fill in with 17 details. We got it. You know sports.
The Bees beat Las Vegas 8-5 last night. Game 2 in their series tonight.
Right. Rodriguez hit that double up the gap, man. It was unbelievable.
I got nothing to add. Coverage on the KSL Sports Zone will start at 7:50 with Tony Parks on the call. That game will be on 1280 The Zone. The FM signal 97.5 will have the RSL game. So more games tonight right here on The Zone, family of stations. DJ and PK.
#RSL.
Lionel Messi brings all his celebrity and all his star power to Utah tonight. Enter Miami and RSL at America First Field. First kick set for 7:30. Coverage will start at 6:30. RSL 4 home games, 4 wins. Can they keep it rolling? They have never won 5 in a row at home to open the season before. Can they do it tonight against Lionel Messi?
Well, this is going to be most exciting moment for you in your soccer play-by-play career, is it not?
Most exciting. They've had some pretty exciting moments getting in the playoffs, but, man, there's never been celebrity and star power like this.
Right, hence your most exciting moment.
Yeah. DJ and PK.
#golf.
PGA Tour CEO Brian Rolap says the PGA will consider additional pathways to bring back LIV Golf players who might want to return to the circuit. LIV Golf reportedly in financial peril. Saudi Arabia's public investment fund considering pulling its huge financial investment in the Upstart Tour. I love this additional pathway. PK, won't they just create some rules and do whatever they have to do to get the stars back? DeChambeau and Rahm, obviously the 2 biggest names.
Yeah, I think the tour can survive without those guys, but if they wanted to have them come back, I mean, the LIV, it's just like the USFL and all these other leagues that try to compete with the big ones. It doesn't work. It goes for a little bit, and then it peters out.
What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Evan Brennan, NFL certified contract advisor and agent at the JL Sports Agency, is going to join us coming up at 8 o'clock to preview the draft in Pittsburgh. And Kurt Schmid, Real Salt Lake Chief Soccer Officer, at 8:30 to talk about tonight's game with Messi. Plus, it's a Win Tickets Wednesday. We have tickets to see RSL and Portland May 2nd at America First Field. We'll give those away coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. DJ and PK, the question of the day is next.
Turn it up. Let's go. It's a new era for for sports radio in Utah. This is the all-new KSL Sports Zone. As always, DJ and PK kick off your mornings from 6 to 10. Then introducing the newest addition to the KSL Sports Zone. The coach, Tim Lacombe, joins Scotty G every day from 10 to 2. And as you wrap up your day, Jake Scott and Ben Anderson are there with the best sports talk in Utah from 2 to 6. Live and local, all day, every day. Your home for the best sports radio in Utah is live, on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Just top.
The KSL Sports Zone and Beehive Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at KSLSports.com/contest. And listen every Thursday afternoon to Jake and Ben for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. Question of the morning up on our Facebook page. If Steve Kerr is done, what is his legacy? It's a guy whose name has been in the basketball headlines for a long time. Darren says, I always liked Steve Kerr. He's pretty much won everything in basketball. Cue the haters in 3, 2, 1. Kevin got too involved in politics and ruined his reputation. And that is the basic PK framework of these comments. There's a few people in between. Jared, his best trade as a coach was cashing checks.
Well, it would be everyone's best trade. That's why they do it. They don't do it for free.
Hey, could I fly all over the country and hang out with you guys and you don't have to give me anything? Said nobody ever.
I think his legacy is the coaching for the NBA titles and then being a role player who hit a few big shots as a player. And he was fortunate enough to be with some really good teams. It's not like, the Bill Russell story where he says, boy, I was really lucky all my teams won. I think Steve Kerr was really lucky that all of his teams won. Bill Russell's teams, he wasn't lucky. He was the reason why they won.
Yeah, he actually, Kerr bounced around, so all of his teams didn't win. But when he got to a couple of franchises with stars, they did win big. 2 with the Spurs and 2 titles with the Spurs and three titles in a row with the Bulls. But obviously, the Bill Russell role was being filled by MJ and then by Tim Duncan. So,
yeah, and he contributed to those, and that puts him where he needs to be legacy-wise.
He was at the forefront of three-point shooting as a player. He didn't. They didn't have three-pointers when he started his career at Arizona, but he got to shoot them the last year, and he shot 57%. And when he retired, he held a bunch of three-point records in the NBA. So he was a shooter. But like you said, that was his role.
Yeah. And he made, obviously the one against the Jazz and some others. So he carved out a decent role-playing career for himself. You got to admire that. Somebody who was lightly recruited out of high school and got an opportunity. I think the story goes he caught the last scholarship there for the U of A, and they were winning at the time. Lute Olson had built it. By the time Kerr came along, which was like in 1984, I think, somewhere in there, and so he'd got there right at the start and experienced a lot of winning there. And I don't even know, was he a free agent? Was he a second-round pick? Was he a first-round pick? But to be able to carve out a career like he did as a player is pretty doggone impressive. And then the coaching, yeah, the coaching he's got a little bit of Phil Jackson thing going on there to where you could say, oh, he gravy trained. Okay, but that job was open and they hired him. So I mean, why would he had opportunities? Because I had heard that the Jazz were interested in him when they were going to be making a change with Tyrone Corbin, and maybe the Knicks were interested in him. So he looked at he pulled an Urban Meyer essentially, didn't he? He looked at the situation, looked at the rosters, and said that one seems to be better than the others. I'm going to go there. And who wouldn't do that? I mean, obviously, in retrospect, it was 100% the right decision to make. We don't know what would have happened if he would have gone to the other teams, but we do know what happened by him going there and had that opportunity to win. What are you going to do? You're going to criticize that? Go put yourself in a winning position? Yeah. If nothing else, he's a smart dude.
There's that. Pick your situations carefully.
Yeah.
They don't grade coaches on a curve. Well, you've lost a lot of games, but your players aren't very good. You're fired.
I think some of them do, though. I would disagree to that to an extent.
Maybe you can buy a little time, but you still get fired. And I think Donovan leaving in Chicago, and I don't know that we can characterize that as a firing exactly, a parting of the ways. Is he leaving in part to set himself up for another job down the road? We'll see how this plays out. He did get there 6 years, and he only had one winning season. So, not gone immediately.
No, but I look at somebody like Jerry Sloan. He did not ever win a title. In my mind, that detracts from nothing from what he did as a coach because he had the opportunity to squeeze as much talent out of the lineups and rosters as they had. And there may have been a few underachieving playoff performances there. But how much is that on him? How much is that on the players? And so the players got to take some accountability for it too. And so
with Phil Jackson and with Steve Kerr, how many underachieving playoff performances did they have? I mean, the achieving does come down. You got to have the players. I mean, you just have to. Nobody wins without them. But were there any years or were there multiple years where you thought, man, they left a lot on the table there? I mean, they gave up a 3-1 lead. Draymond shouldn't have gotten kicked out. I mean, you can always point to that and say they should have gotten that title. They barely squeezed out that last one. And I think a lot of people did a lot of things right to get that title across the finish line.
Oh, well, I'd have to look at the most recent ones to see it was this team better than it could have been. Not when they were winning at all. What were they doing at that point? That's where I would look, and which is why it's coming to an end. I mean,
Matt says the dude has a ring on all but one finger. That's pretty legendary.
Well, and if he cut one finger off, then he'd have it covered.
Going Ronnie Lott now, huh? Take the pinky off. That one doesn't get a ring. It's just the tip, just at the last joint. Maybe they could squeeze a ring on it. I don't know.
Put a ring on it.
Thank you, Beyonce. We got a couple people with predictions. They didn't want to go to Steve Kerr's legacy. How about this for a prediction? Matt, if the Spurs lose this year, Steve Kerr's coaching career is not done.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Back to San Antonio where he was tied with Popovich.
They won 62 games this year.
I know. They weren't exactly terrible.
It doesn't seem like Mitch Johnson's going anywhere anytime soon.
And that's not a franchise that tends to blow through coaches, right?
Not since Tarkanian left. Your guy.
Back in the day.
Yeah. I don't know who they had. I just remember his was a short stint. I'd have to look it up, and I don't want to. Yeah, I wouldn't think they'd make a change there. The San Antonio is just getting started, and now the coach has his excuse. If they go out, his best player took a big-time fall. I was watching it at the time, and you're like, ooh, ouch. And he had that hardwood, especially for him when Biyama being so tall, he's got a long way to go from the face to the hardwood because he's so tall. And he hit it, and it's clear he was dazed and down and out. And my wife's, we're watching it together. She goes, where's the trainer? It's like it took him 10 minutes to get out there. And then obviously he got up and took off and went in the locker room, and we'll see. It certainly was a hard fall, but essentially they've got, if they lose, they got their yeah, but.
He has an amazing legacy. He isn't done. He'll go on TV for a bit, but he'll be on everybody's short list. He's done TV before, and he was good before. I'm sure he'd be good if he wants to do it again, if he doesn't want to completely step away from the game and take time off. I can absolutely see his name being on everybody's short list. He's 60 years old, PK. That seems right in the sweet spot where he absolutely could come back and he absolutely could decide, no, I'm going to retire. I'm done. 60's good enough.
That's a lot of absolutes, man. He can make an absolute decision then.
He can do absolutely anything.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if he wants to continue to coach, 60 isn't even close to being old in terms of, the game has passed him by. I don't think that, and obviously I'm biased now because I'm older, but you can stay current if you want. And I think that he would have no problem doing that.
Him going on TV would be one way to stay current. Keep his name and his face at the forefront.
I don't think he needs to do that, though.
He probably doesn't have to, but he could. And that would do it.
He could absolutely do anything he wants. I think he should run for office. He's got a lot of solutions. Now's the time, man. Make a difference. Don't stand on the sidelines, literally, and tell us what the other guy should do. You do it. Governor, didn't they just have another guy who's running around with the women who got, he's not going to run for governor? Here's his opportunity to be a governor of California, man.
It's wide open.
Yeah.
Go get it. No incumbent running.
And I don't know, I have no idea what party he's representing, but the guy who holds the office, he's not running. So I don't know, I don't know about any incumbent. I don't know what party that is. So the job is there for the taking. That's what he should be doing. Now that I think about it, yeah. At least, if you're going to lecture us, get paid to lecture us, right? Here's his chance. Make a difference. Don't just sit on the sidelines. Come on. Power to the people, right on.
Power to the people. That's old school.
Right on.
Right on. Nice.
Yeah. He could unify the state of California.
Fresno and San Francisco, they're just not aligned. Let's unify people.
I think it's individuals. I don't think it's communities.
Yeah.
And I think communities, they kind of go together. I mean, look at you. You live in the city of Salt Lake, the city of Salt Lake City. And we all know where they lean.
Juan Antonio Samaranch.
We all know where the city of Salt Lake City really leans, right? Hardcore the other way. That's why you moved out from your suburban area with a bunch of them people and moved in to where the like-minded people. I know you did that.
Godwood Heights, man. I just didn't fit.
I've been there. I walked them streets.
What are you, Johnny Cash? You've been everywhere.
That's close to my religious neighborhood, thank goodness.
We needed more space. That's what it came down to.
Space? Yeah, I know. You were getting boxed in. You could barely breathe. I see what you're saying.
There's no air near Big Cottonwood Canyon.
My wife wanted to go in that neighborhood. I said, be careful. I guess she went there yesterday.
She did. I thanked her.
Unbeknownst to me. Did it all on her own. It wasn't my idea.
That was an independent decision, huh?
Oh, yeah. She told me after the fact. I honestly did not know that she was going to do that.
Oh, that was nice of her.
I would have said, screw them. Let them worry about their own problems. We got ours.
Community leader Patrick Enahan.
Hey, my mother always said, charity starts at home.
So the classic, I don't feel like we can leave this discussion without the classic sports radio question. Mount Rushmore of NBA head coaches. Who you got?
Oh, man. I wish Rushmore would have had like 5 or 6.
I know, right? Why does it have to be 4? Why is that the number?
Oh, wow, that's a tough one. That's so tough. I mean, it's all subjective. So there is literally no right answer. And that's the beauty of sports and the beauty of sports talk radio is a lot of this stuff, there literally isn't a right answer, but 5 people have 5 different opinions, and they run with that, right? I mean, you could look at Popovich, too, and couldn't you say everything you want to say about Kerr outside of the actual playing career, but when you're just talking about coaches, couldn't you put him? I always thought it was funny that Phil Jackson got dumped on for gravy chaining, but Popovich didn't. And they keep winning the lottery, literally. and And those guys can make a really big difference if they're that good. And the guys that they got in the lottery, Robinson and Duncan, were really that good. And then Wembanyama here. My gosh, we talk about the Lakers being lucky and having all these dominant centers. Well, Spurs are right there with them, man.
Super lucky. So fortunate.
And now we want to change the bleeping rules. Bleep you, Hi-Ho Silver. No. But, in the final analysis, if you're going to go on guys who won the most titles, then certainly Popovich has to be considered, if not absolutely included.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're just going most titles, Kerr, Popovich, and Phil Jackson go right to the top of the list, and you probably Pat Riley, got to throw him in there.
I mean, I don't know how you're leaving out Red Auerbach.
Of our lifetime?
Well, this is of our lifetime.
Just barely. Not really. I mean, he won some before
well,
our
then
lifetime.
change the rule. Don't tell me of your lifetime.
Okay.
And I got somebody who was, when I was living, I mean, I'm in diapers, crapping, burping, and sleeping, but it's still in my lifetime. It's not in my cognizant basketball lifetime.
It's not in your NBA fandom lifetime.
No.
The coach that I would want to put up there that I don't know, because, again, it was before my NBA fandom, although I was alive, Red Holtzman won 2 in New York, and people speak so highly of him. But to know what they were up against, what they had to pull off, the competition, the egos, all the stuff coaches have to do and juggle, I wonder where he would rank. He's certainly very well thought of and well spoken of. But
yeah, I was 10 years old. I remember it. I watched all those games, man.
That's your guy when you're getting invited to the Garden.
Yeah.
He's on the sideline.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up at an early age because, and even as a kid, I wasn't watching whatever TV shows were on. It never really floated my boat. My viewing was, and where I'm fortunate to where, that stuff wasn't broadcast nationally as much, but I didn't need it because I had all the local teams there. And Channel 9 and Channel 11 would broadcast those games. And as a kid, I'd watch them all. And I used to go out in the playground and mimic the way Walt Frazier shot the basketball. I'm talking 7, 8, 9 years of age. I wasn't one of these kids like got up on Saturday morning and watched the cartoons and all that stuff. I just for whatever reason, it just wasn't something that I was looking for. And it's interesting on coaching. What defines a good coach, and how do you know if you are one? Jerry Sloan staying a long time. That is something that's very impressive. And taking several different iterations of the franchise and winning with all of them, right? That's very impressive. Then you got a guy like Larry Brown, who's here today, gone tomorrow, but yet he won everywhere, right? At least, won competitively.
Yeah, and he did win an NCAA title at Kansas, and he won an NBA title when he got to Detroit. So he does have the ultimate championship, but you could argue that his coaching legacy would be taking franchises that were totally broken and getting them to the playoffs like he did with the Clippers.
I was there, covered him at the time, was in the locker room when Larry Brown was doing that thing. Yeah, and that freaking thing was woebegone of all woebegons. And, he changed it around. And then, of course, he takes off, and that's what he does. That's what he did anyway. He reminds me of somebody like a Ricky Henderson who just wanted to play baseball. And even after his career as a big leaguer was over, he was still playing baseball. I think of Larry Brown as a basketball coach, Gary Croton as a football coach. You coach in high school, coach in junior college. The guy just wanted to coach football. You got to respect that, right? I realized it wasn't great at BYU those 3 years after the big season, but that guy is a football coach. Yes, he wants to just coach football, whatever level. It didn't really matter to him. He just loved coaching football, and I respect that. Doing something that you love, and you're not really caught up in the glamour of it. You just want to coach. Yeah, that's what I think of Larry Brown. He's all over the place, and his teams usually were pretty good. So where would he be? He doesn't have the big-time resume in terms of titles, but okay. And then what about Chuck Daly? People thought of him as as a student of the game also, right?
Yep.
Don Nelson's another guy, bounced around many different places. And then this guy practiced medicine and coached basketball, Dr. Jack Ramsey.
Dr. Jack. It's funny, some of these guys you're naming as the Olympics went professional, you could really tell people inside the profession and who was respected, because a lot of these guys, like Daly, was given the first dream team. You could tell how respected he was. They could have picked a lot of people on that, and honestly, just about anybody could have coached that team to the gold medal. But they picked him for a reason, the level of respect he had from his peers.
Oh, yeah, you want to talk about that. That's where J-Slow can be right at the top, man. You talk to those career coaches, Rick Adelman, Rick Carlisle, Flip Saunders. Those guys were in reverential tones when they talked about Jerry, even while he was coaching, not after the fact. When the record was done, then they upped the praise. And then they would always include, too, Phil Johnson. That was something they did. Always put both of those guys around the league. They'd be so well thought of and recognized. And there's something to be said for that. They should take, obviously Jerry's passed now, but Phil's still living, take a lot of satisfaction of staying in a place and doing what you did and having a lot of success. There's only one team that can win it. And then in basketball, that one team, there's been outliers, but a lot of the times that one team has multiple chances to win because of the dominant nature of one or two players, and they return for several years. And we see that. That's why these guys have, obviously Steve Kerr has multiples, largely because of Steph Curry and Draymond and Klay Thompson, and they got a couple there with Kevin Durant.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Stick around. NFL Draft Talk coming up. Evan Brennan's going to join us, player agent. He is going to be here at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. Stay with us right here on The Zone. Join Scotty G and the coach today from 10 till 2. They're going to be at Tim Dolly Mazda, 10785 South Auto Mall Drive in Sandy. Got another question up on our Facebook page here. Big game tonight for Real Salt Lake. Lionel Messi, widely recognized as the greatest soccer, or is it football, player of all time, is in town to play RSL. Are you jacked for the game? How fired up are you? Marv, not at all.
Why not?
He does not explain why, just not at all. Sam says, nope, I don't care for soccer. And Ben, Messi retired from high-level football years ago. Well, he just won the last World Cup, so it's, I guess technically, sure, that would be 3 years ago now, 3.5. Joe, it's a historic day in Utah sports. I love soccer, and nobody is more widely recognized worldwide than Messi.
I wonder where Joe served.
Let's click on that and see what we can find out. Well, his photos at Disneyland with his kids, and the kid's wearing a Jazz hat, so there you go. Fan of Utah Jazz, Real Salt Lake, and Lincoln Park from Kearns High and Salt Lake Community College. No telling. John says, well, it's better than the NBA playoffs. And Tyler says, yeah, it's not as good as playoff hockey, baby. It's that time of year. Whatever your thing is, you can grab it and embrace it, right? Messi's here tonight. There's people who watch baseball, basketball, hockey, and soccer. Pick your thing and go.
He's here tonight and gone tomorrow.
Literally.
But for those who are interested, it's a big deal. I think it's cool. I mean, I'm not a freak by any stretch. I actually went up to old Rice Eccles. I made a conscious decision when I went up to Rice Eccles to watch Landon Donovan.
Good decision.
Yeah, it was a conscious decision.
Nice.
It wasn't. A lot of times I make unconscious decisions.
What about subconscious decisions?
No, I don't have a subconscious. I don't even think I have a conscious for that matter.
A subconscious?
No, I think in order for you to have make a subconscious, you have to have a conscious. I don't have a conscious. But you can make a conscious decision. That's two different things.
My head's starting to spin now.
But I think you understand. I made a conscious decision. I went up to Rice Eccles, and I said to myself, there's no way I can make money and get out of the office so I don't have to deal with those guys that I don't really like. And it's okay now because you don't work there anymore. We can expose it for what it was and get out of there. And, I didn't have that. If I were you, I probably would have made that conscious decision too. But I did go up and watch Landon Donovan play.
Or unconscious decision.
But that was a bigger venue, so I didn't have a problem asking for free tickets.
Could you have made a semi-conscious decision?
I've made many of those.
Nice.
It gets to 1 o'clock on the weekends. Yeah, in college. Many.
Oh, man. All right, we will talk more about the game with the chief soccer officer. Kurt Schmid is going to join us coming up at 8:30. We'll get more on Messi and RSL tonight at America First Field. Tomorrow, it's just like we're rotating right through things. Playoff hockey last night. Messi's here tonight. Tomorrow, the NFL draft gets going. There should be a couple of local guys picked on the first day, and the draft, of course, will continue through Saturday. Evan Brennan, a registered agent. We've talked to him in past years to get us up to date on what he thinks, trends in this year's draft, where some of the local guys are going to go. That's all coming up. He joins us right after the break, right here on 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. We are joined once again by Evan Brennan. He has joined us in past before the draft. He's an NFL certified contract advisor at JL Sports Agency. Evan, good morning.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
So is this a really busy week for you, or all your work is done and you're waiting now until the names are called, and then at the end of the seventh round, getting clients in with free agents, it gets busy again? Is there a lull before the storm here for you?
I'll put it this way. It's 8:06, and I have had at least 10 calls from NFL teams this morning alone.
Wow. All right.
What do they want to know?
Well, a lot of them are trying to figure out where some of these guys are going to go. They're starting to target guys that they may want to grab after the draft and undrafted free agency, all kinds of stuff. Find out last-minute, tidbits about guys. It depends. There's all kinds of stuff. So smoke and mirrors, investigation. Who knows? It's a wild deal.
The old cliche about the undrafted guys, you'd rather be undrafted so you can pick your landing spot as opposed to being drafted in the seventh round, or that's just what you say when you're not drafted, you'd rather be drafted. How do your clients feel, and if you advise them on how they should feel, what do you say?
That is the number one question I get by everyone in this. Here's my answer. There is some merit to being able to go where you want, and if you are a very top undrafted free agent, undrafted, you will get more guaranteed money than a seventh-round pick. That's very, very true. However, the metrics do show that if teams make a draft investment in you, there is a higher chance that you'll make a practice squad or maybe even the team, given that the team has done that kind of investment. It comes down to if teams are drafting for best available or need. And so it can kind of go both ways. I tell guys, you always want to get drafted. It helps you down the road. If you get cut, teams are more willing to bring in a guy that was a draft pick versus somebody else by a slight margin. But if you don't, having a backup plan on, the best destination for you and a really, really good comp plan with a signing bonus and paragraph 5 guarantee is good too. So the way I do it personally with my clients, we have a couple teams picked out. If you don't get picked, we try to talk to those teams, say, hey, would you guys be interested if this guy falls through? And we kind of have that destination. And if some other teams outside of that small group of teams call, we try to say, hey, we think we've got a team picked out. If he goes undrafted, if you want him, you're going to have to draft him. And that's been effective in getting guys drafted that otherwise may not be.
Seems like we see this every year, us guys in the media, that when Saturday comes and the draft is over, then there's just a plethora of emails that will come our way from the local schools here, players XYZ 1 through 7 through 8, whatever it might be. They've signed with this school, this team, and I always look forward to that to see where these guys are going to go, because I can follow the draft and find out where they're going to go. And the only way we're going to find out, or not the only way, but the best way, is the sports information people just email you, put out group emails of where all these kids are going. And it makes me wonder, when you get to that point on Saturday afternoon, is that more frenzied compared to all the other times in the draft when there's all these guys who are undrafted and teams are trying to jockey to get these kids?
It's a wild time. So just to give the listeners kind of an idea, these teams call, hey, Evan, we like your center from Weber State. We want to offer him a signing bonus. We want to offer him a guarantee on his contract, a paragraph 5 guarantee. Here's what our depth chart looks like. Are you in? You got 1 minute to decide. It can go like that. And then you kind of get this handshake deal. We call it agreeing to terms. They send you the contract late that night. You look it over. As the agent, you sign your portion, and it goes back to the team. When the kid reports for rookie minicamp, either that week or the following week, he signs his portion. So what the sports information directors are calling us, late on Saturday night or whatever it may be. Hey, where's your guys going? And we let them know, and that's how it all breaks down. But yes, during the draft, trying to get a guy drafted is very frenzy. But after the draft, even more so. I plan on taking anywhere from 200 to 400 calls on Saturday.
Evan, we've had you on. I think we started having you on because you were representing several guys with local ties. Are you representing several guys with local ties for players across the state of Utah this year?
I am. I've got a kid that probably a lot of your listeners don't know, but they should, because he legitimately has got a real shot at getting drafted. A couple of teams have brought him in already. Gavin Ortega, the offensive lineman for Weber State, is a very large and very realistic sleeper to get drafted in this upcoming draft out of Weber State. So he's my guy locally that I'm working with.
Has NIL changed the draft? Because we've heard that it's changing the NBA in terms of guys maybe being second round, late first, and they want to stay in school and get the guaranteed money as opposed to risking it.
Yes, you are seeing a lot of guys trying to stick it out and, fight for another year. You're seeing people, try to use the courts to get another year because there's significant money in NIL. And so, when you're looking at kids coming out, one of the questions that you're asking is, are you done with college or are you not? Because if you're done with college, okay, let's proceed on how we're going to get you in the NFL. But if there's any chance that you want to come back, well, let's have that conversation on the front end rather than getting into January. And more players are trying to milk every day they can out of college because of the money. So, yes, in many ways it has changed my job.
Evan Brennan joining us, NFL Certified Contract Advisor, a.k.a. agent, at JL Sports Agency. Do you individually or does anyone in your agent represent college players in these NIL discussions? And if so, do you do it to kind of get the foot in the door to represent them at the NFL? We've heard lots of stories back in the day about NFL agents, but they've been certified for a while, and so a lot of the Wild West stories have dropped away. But we have heard the Wild West stories at the college level. So how is that working?
Yeah, so I work for JL Sports. We're a pretty well-known agency. This is actually my first year here. They brought me over, represent guys like Joe Flacco, Kyle Juszczyk, very well-respected agency. My personal practice is very heavy on the pro side, about 90%. I do some NIL work, and it's growing, but it's a minority of what I do. For most of the agents at our firm, it's the other way around, and there is significant money in NIL. We have one or two agents that all they do is NIL work, and we represent millions and millions of dollars on a yearly basis in NIL stuff. So at least at the JL Sports at my firm, we have a very prominent presence in NIL. Me personally, it's a smaller one. I'm kind of the well-known pro guy that deals a lot on that side. But even like I said, I dabble in it with probably 2 or 3 players every single year. But it is a significant factor in the business and the money that can be made on the agent side.
And I'm wondering, as far as certification, from the NFL, it's regulated. How about there's no really regulating agency at the college level? Is there some guys that are maybe considered shady trying to represent these kids? Because they don't, unless I'm wrong, they don't have to go through a level of certification that you've had to do.
You're partially true. Yes, I carry the certified contractor license, one of the only ones, if not the only one in the state of Utah. I have to carry malpractice insurance. I undergo an FBI-level background check every single year. Now, individual states also regulate agents, including the state of Utah, and you have to submit to have a license on the state level. It's not very hard to get. It's just $500 or so, and you register with the Secretary of State. It's not heavily regulated. It could be, but it's not. But in theory, any agent in the NIL practicing in Utah and other states would have to register, even if they're not representing pro players, with the state of Utah. And in theory, if you fail to do that or not do it properly or violated the different provisions, you could face real issues. So to answer your question, no, there's not a formal test. No, there's not malpractice insurance that exists for NIL agents. But in theory, you should register with the Secretary of State, state by state, including Utah, which has athlete agent laws that would apply to NIL agents.
Evan Brennan joining us, NFL Certified Contract Advisor at JL Sports Agency. How many guys from Utah schools do you think are going to get drafted? How much insight do you have into that?
Ooh, there's has to be over. BYU's probably got 2 guys. Utah's got a handful of guys, probably the same. I mentioned my guy at Weber State's got a real shot. There may be one guy at Utah State that's got an outside shot. So you do the math on that, somewhere between, 7 to 10 guys in the state that have got a realistic shot. But, the guy at BYU that I'm rooting for, I don't represent him, is Carson Ryan. Guys like Chase Roberts that I think have got a shot. I think Jack Kelly at BYU is probably going to go. You got Will Farron and guys like that. Utah's got, their high-end picks on the offensive line, defensive line that are, high-end guys that I think have got a real shot of, not just getting drafted, but going really high in the draft. So between all of that, like I said, 7 to 10.
The way this process works every year, it's always fascinated me. You've got at least 3 years likely of film on all these kids, right? Then they bring them back to the combine and they go through all that stuff. Then they go and do pro day workouts. So you got all this stuff. What matters more than other stuff in terms of evaluation? Because you got film of guys actually playing football than, as they say, guys running around in their underwear.
At the end of the day, the film is king, particularly for guys that are quote-unquote known entities, guys that went to the combine, guys from big schools. Film is king. The coaches a lot of times make these decisions, and they're watching film. However, for guys that are more off the beaten path, to get their film really noticed, they're going to have to run and jump really good. And that's how you kind of more or less kind of make yourself stand out as a quote-unquote traits player. So that's another question that I get a lot. If you're a very well-known, dominant player on tape at a big school, the tape's going to mean more. If you're not as dominant or you're at a smaller school, yeah, you're going to have to kind of get your shot and get more well-noticed on traits. And that's what you're seeing, like I said, with this Weber State kid. He's got good tape, but not a lot of people are going to look at it unless he tested really good, which he did, and that more or less got him on the board. So that's kind of how that works, and that's why you see guys at the combine from Alabama, from Ole Miss. They don't necessarily test very well, but get drafted really high is because they play really good football against NFL talent every single Saturday. And that's why you see really good players from small schools don't get picked, because their tape doesn't mean as much to teams because it's against lesser talent. They're going to have to test their way and have good tape. So hopefully that answers your question.
It seems inevitable, and it has seemed inevitable for probably 3 or 4 years now, that the NFL is going to go to 18 games. There's been some talk of players only playing 17 if they put in some kind of rule like that. But if they let them play 18, does getting on a practice squad become even more valuable? Does it just become inevitable that those guys will be rotated through and will get a shot?
Well, they expanded the practice squads a few years back. They used to only be 10. They're bigger, and part of that is just because the season keeps expanding. I tell guys, hey, if you're on a practice squad, there's a real chance you're going to get bumped up, particularly later in the year. And there's a lot of strategy teams use with how to manage their practice squad. But yes, the longer the seasons get, the more and more likely it is that teams are going to have to dip into their practice squad, and injuries will occur. It's just inevitable within football. Teams have to, make sure that they're in the best possible situation they can be every single Sunday. So, yes, 100%. A lot more strategy is going to have to go on with how you manage your roster if the seasons do expand beyond where they currently sit, 100%.
I'm also fascinated by these 40 times, right? It's like a split second and even less than a second. And if you were able to get whatever it might be, that under the 4.5 or 4.5, whatever, it's like that's magic numbers, right? And then we go crazy on that. And then you got a kid like Puka Nacua who may not be a sprinter blazer, and he lasts until the 5th round, I think it was, and then he blows up. How do they reconcile that when they got these stopwatches? It's almost like, it's so vitally important, but yet if a kid isn't a big-time sprinter, that doesn't necessarily mean he's not a big-time player.
100%. And you look at the Rams, they've done a great job with what you would call slow receivers. Look at Cooper Kupp playing for those guys and lasting where he did in a very similar place to Puka Nacua. He did not run very well at the combine at all, and has proven to be a great player just like Puka. So some of it's an organizational thing that, hey, we're going to watch the tape, we're going to look at a lot of different things, and we're not going to put as much value on the speed. We trust the film more. We trust, what we're seeing in a lot of different arenas more. And so I think the Rams in particular have done a great job with slower receivers and trusting that tape. And I think you'll see some more teams emulate that. And there's some teams that now traits mean a lot to us. We have faith in our coaches to develop them, but it is, it's quite inconsistent, I would say, across the league, player to player. You'll see great players that aren't great testers. You'll see horrible players that are incredible testers. And that's just the kind of the fun and variance and variability of the league and the evaluation process.
Do agents get to have relationships with coaches, or is it more a GM personnel thing? And I ask that because we see someone like Harbaugh moving from Baltimore to New York. He's been in the league forever. There figures to be some turnover on that roster, maybe with a relationship if he knows what kind of players a certain agent likes and all that. Maybe they think there'd be a little more trust that it'll be a better fit for some of these end of the roster or jobs. Is there any angle to be played there as an agent?
Yeah, so to be totally candid with you, position coaches I deal with daily. I had coaches call me this morning from the NFL. Last night I dealt with the safeties coach. I talked to Vrabel yesterday about one of my guys. Head coaches less so much with undrafted guys. Where you deal a lot with head coaches with draft picks, guys that are legit mid-round or higher draft picks. Head coach will call you, hey, really like your guy, what are you hearing, and kind of feel you out on the market. General managers will do that too. Position coaches get heavily involved with late day 3 guys and undrafted guys, and a good relationship with a position coach can go a long way in getting a guy drafted or get a guy placed in undrafted free agency. They recognize the name. I was talking to an O-line coach for the team that I have, several players on the team. He knew my name. He called me up. Hey, we're looking at this guy. Love all the work you've done with all of our guys. Would love to, maybe get a deal done after the draft on this kid. What are you hearing on this guy? And it was an O-line coach just calling me. So, those relationships do matter. If you're kind of a repeat player, you develop those relationships, and teams kind of, like to deal with people they know versus random wild cards that could hurt them in the process just because they don't know who they are. If the players are, fungible, are kind of exactly the same. So, yes, for sure those things matter, particularly at the position coach level.
You speak of that position coach, and I'm wondering for the free agent guys, when you get to that and you weren't drafted, how that's going to be. Because you hear quarterbacks, okay, Sean Payton can develop quarterbacks, right? We know what he did with the Saints, and now he's looking like he's doing the same thing with Denver, with Knicks, and has a great rookie year, and all of a sudden that changed the outlook of the franchise there to be a playoff contender for the next X amount of years. So I'm wondering, as far as the free agents, with maybe assistant coaches too, or even the head coach, they do really well at developing, say like Chase Roberts, for example, just to use him as an example, doesn't get drafted. Would he look at, well, how do they use receivers there? And even if it's not the more money, whatever it might be, I might have a better chance to be developed at Team X.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple examples. The Eagles have one of the best O-line coaches in the league, and he's very well regarded, and he's had a lot of great players, and so he's considered one of the best, if not the best O-line coach. And so, great job selling himself, and kind of, putting himself as the top O-line coach in the NFL, and a lot of guys want to play for him. And he leverages that very well in targeting undrafted guys for sure. I mean, Bubba Ventrone, I represent Luke Rhodes for the Colts, the highest paid long snapper in NFL history, very well-known long snapper. Bubba Ventrone was his special teams coach for a long, long time in Indianapolis and is known as one of the top special teams coordinators. He calls me all the time about guys, Dave Phipp, Joe DeCamillis. Some of these special teams coaches have pretty strong resumes. And I deal with the special teams coaches a lot because they cross over linebackers, safeties, wide receivers, corners, and being, known as a special teams coach that, develops and works with kind of the backup players, the undrafted guys, is, a real big selling point. So to your point, with a guy like Chase Roberts, who probably is not going to come in and start anytime soon in the NFL, making it on special teams is going to be huge. And his relationship with the special teams coach is going to be big. And if the special teams coach identifies him even before he enters the building as a potential special teams coordinator or special teams contributor, could play a huge, huge role in this. And so, yes, relationships with those special teams coordinators, with the position coaches is very fundamental in helping your guys get in the right spot so they can make it long term.
Spring football leagues come and go. We currently have the UFL. How much do NFL people look at that? How big an advantage is that? How hard do you have to work to get your guys into that if they don't stick with an NFL team right away? Is that a good path forward?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of seeing a trend with those. You're seeing a lot of guys. They're taking a lot of what I call retreads, guys that, were in and out of the NFL. That's kind of the main use of that league is they want to work with guys that were in the NFL for a while, got cut, or they just didn't get renewed, and are trying to get back. If you got to be a dominant player though in the UFL, if you want a shot back at the NFL, you'll see them grab guys a couple times during the year. Maybe early in kind of the year after the season ends, if they had a dominant year the year before, you'll see them sometimes filling gaps from time to time. There's all different kind of ways that it could come into play, but really those are reserved for different players that are dominant at that level. So it's a hard route. Don't get me wrong. The CFL is even harder for that, for sure.
Well, Evan, we appreciate a few minutes as always. Thanks for joining us and talking a little NFL draft. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Evan Brennan, NFL certified contract advisor and agent at the JL Sports Agency, and he took 10 calls before he came on the air with us, PK. So everybody's double-checking everything. The pressure's on. You don't want to whiff.
Oh, no, I mean, this is so important. This is vitally important to building your franchise. I mean, it's the same thing we talk about the NBA, but the NBA doesn't have as much player movement as the NFL does, and obviously the rosters aren't as big. You need to have free agency, you need to have trades, and you need to have draft. And I think if I'm ranking them in level of importance, it's the draft. I mean, the teams that hit on draft picks and then free agent signings, obviously quarterback is a big deal, but I mean, you've got to nail these drafts. I mean, a fourth-round pick is vitally important to your franchise, most likely.
It is such an advantage in a league with a hard salary cap to get players on a rookie contract who can contribute to winning. That is such an advantage. And if you whiff on it, then it's really an uphill battle from there.
I know. That's why I've been so valuable to the companies in radio, because I've been working on a rookie contract for almost 25 years now.
That's not true. You worked on a rookie contract for 5 years. The last 20, you've been a well-compensated veteran.
What are you, my agent? Thank you,
Well,
Evan.
if you think about it, PK, have your phone. Answer it when they call. So, yeah, I guess it was.
And I answered it. And I had my phone.
It worked out. All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back,
600,000.
Messi's coming to town tonight. Kurt Schmid, Real Salt Lake Chief soccer officer, joins us next. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1.
This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeComb.
Joining us now, longtime head coach at BYU, Dave Rose, kind enough to carve out some time for us. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing really well, thank you. Not as well as Tim, but I'm doing really well today.
It's a good day today, Coach.
Yeah, it is a good day. I'm really happy for you, big fella. I can remember those days driving in the middle of nowhere on our way to recruit kids or watch games in the summer that you talked about someday wanting to have your own radio show. And I thought you were kind of crazy, but
you already knew that.
Yeah, so I'm happy for you. Good luck to you.
It was such an awesome experience. I mean, I had so many different experiences. I worked for Rick and I worked for Ray, and they were distinctly different. And then Ray and Dave were so different, but all in a good way. I just value so much. It was a 12-year education on just how to be a good person.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Tonight, Real Salt Lake hosts Inter Miami. Messi makes his Utah appearance, 7:30. The action begins pregame at 6:30 here on 97.5 The Zone. We're joined right now by Real Salt Lake's Chief Soccer Officer, Kurt Schmid. Kurt, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. So I'm curious, do you just hide out in the office and make yourself inaccessible, or are you moving around town, or people hitting you up for tickets? Are the calls coming in, your phone buzzing? People want to find a way to get into the big game?
Yeah, there are a lot of people trying to find a way in, but it's a tough get at the moment. Today is a little busy. There's a few people in town. But yeah, overall, I'm usually more of I usually try to keep it to myself a little more on game day. So I'll try to get to that as much as I can today. But there are a few more people in town for sure.
With elevation and crowd, it has been understood that RSL had a pretty good home field advantage for many, many years, obviously. Now, this might be a little different. Will that be weird? Because you might get some folks, as you just say, are coming in to see one player and might be prone to cheer for him.
Yeah, I think we'll have to see how that goes. But I do think, we've got a lot of fans that are going to come here to see us play and see us win and succeed and do well and get behind us when we do succeed. And I think no matter who a crowd comes to see, I think soccer crowds usually like to see a team that plays well and puts a good display on and can excite them and create chances and score goals. And we've been able to do that. And so I don't think that's a big bug in the back of my head in any way. But I do have I'm excited to see the big crowd come out, and I know that's going to be a buzz in the air for the guys. I mean, not to go off topic too much or on a tangent, but I remember, when I was in Seattle when they started up and, we had a big crowd there in Seattle every game, and we almost felt it was to our detriment because even though they were fans of our team, the other team almost got up more for it because it energized them. And so, I think just being able to put a show on in front of that many people, even if, not 100% of them might be there in support, it's always going to be extra motivational for the guys.
I got to say, watching from a distance, I didn't think Miami was off to a great start. And then I took a little closer look. It's like this has been a really road-heavy schedule. So although their record and point total aren't awesome, when you factor in the road, it actually is pretty good. They haven't been great in their 2 home games, so that's a little bit of a problem here in their start. But do you still view them with Messi as one of the top teams in the league? Is everybody looking over their shoulder at them, even though they're not sitting on top of the standings right now?
I mean, I think when you've got special players on your team of the caliber that they have, then I don't think it really matters what the run of form is, to be honest with you, because they've got players that can do something at any moment, and whatever happened before that, whether in that game or in the last 3 games, is irrelevant to that. And then you throw on top of that the coaching situation and that change, then really you can just throw the form out the window, I think, for this one and really just start fresh. And so I don't think that's a big concern. I don't think the road thing. Yeah, they had a road heavy schedule because they were building a stadium, and but even coming home didn't really save them either, right? They didn't get those good results back home when they got there. So at the end of the day, it's about 22 guys on the field and competing to win the game. So
one other thing about their form before I let that go, because I'm hard-headed. they've scored a lot of goals, but, man, they've given up 14 goals already in their first 8 games. And RSL also scores a lot of goals. They've given up 10 goals so far. And these clubs just played in their respective games 3-2 and 4-2 games on the weekend. Are you expecting a lot of goals tonight?
I would say there should be goals, absolutely. I think our group feels very confident that we're going to score goals, not a goal, but goals. And so, I think there's going to be goals in this game, and I hope I hope we're the only team scoring them. But if that doesn't turn out to be the case, I have confidence that we'll have the offense to score enough goals to get the result.
One of the keys to RSL scoring goals has been Morgan Guilavogi, who has just scored his first goal in the most recent game. But Pablo has consistently praised him for the decisions he makes, the way he's played. Pablo has been very impressed with his play. And when he spoke to the media, he said the conversations about coming to the United States actually go back several years, but when he was younger, he just wasn't ready to make that big a move, even though he wanted to move around and live different places. He didn't want to go to the other side of the world at a younger age. I'm curious when he was first on your radar and how long you worked on acquiring him before he finally made the jump here.
Morgan, it was about almost 2 years ago now. It was middle of 24 season that was the window when we first tried to bring him in. But obviously started scouting him a good amount before that. But he's someone, and I think he's doing it right now. But we thought was a versatile player that could contribute in a lot of different ways for us. And someone I used to work with would use this phrase, and I haven't always loved it, but the more I watch Morgan, I think it applies to him. But he really looks like a force multiplier when he's on the field. And, I think to dumb that down a little bit, it's just like he makes everyone else around him better. He does the simple thing, the obvious thing, which, is not always so obvious, but he does the simple, efficient thing that is the right decision in the moment. And it isn't always the flashiest play or the most attention grabbing, but it is often the most productive and effective. And, you look at, obviously he scored a goal. It was a great goal. But you look at our second goal on the day, and his ball that he plays out to Luna was massive in terms of opening up the game. His movement in moments, even when he doesn't get the ball, creates space for others. So, he has a ton of quality on his own, and he's able to create chances, to get assists, to score goals. But the other thing that he does is he makes it just that much easier for everyone else to be productive and be effective as well.
Messi's 7 goals is tied for second in the league. RSL is led by Sergei Solans, who has 5 goals, which is tied for 8th in the league. And he is notable because he was playing college soccer last year. He played at Oregon State and UCLA. How does a player make that kind of jump and make that kind of impact?
Honestly, it's not the easiest thing to assess. It's not the most obvious quality in a player, but it is the most valuable quality for a player to have, is this ability to adapt and adjust to new levels quickly. And it's something, when I was in Seattle again, we drafted Christian Roldan, who had this, where he just adapted very quickly. Jordan Morris was the same in Salt Lake, picked up guys like Emeka Eneli and Jasper Wolferson. It's one of the qualities that Gozo has exhibited as he's moved his way through the ranks in our academy. And Sergi looks like he's doing it as well. And, I think one of the biggest things that's aided him, beyond some of the obvious things, like his work rate is excellent. Obviously he's shown some good finishing ability as well, but it's his soccer IQ. It's not just about how hard he's working, which he is one of the hardest workers on the team, but it's also how smart he works. And when you combine those two things, it just becomes really, really effective.
Oh, last thing, DeAndre Yedlin actually played with Messi in Miami. He was captain there. There's a thing about them winning and hoisting the trophy together, and he's trying to give the armband back, and Yedlin doesn't want it. Is there an advantage to having played with him when you're trying to defend him, or he's a magician and everybody has just got to do the best they can and good luck?
I mean, I think in terms of, quality, I don't know that there's an advantage. And, I think he is, of such a level that, he can do things that very, very few, if any, other players can do. So from that standpoint, I don't know if there's an advantage, but there can be a mental advantage in guys that have played with or against him before, especially multiple times. I think, you shouldn't have this awe factor where you're maybe giving too much respect, or you need to adjust to like the idea of what's happening before you can actually just get down to business and play your game like any other game. So I would expect DeAndre to approach this like any other game, because it's not a new experience for him to share a field with that player, and so it's not going to be a new experience for him, and I can't imagine he'll be overawed by it.
Yeah. Well, Kurt, we appreciate a few minutes. You got people in town, you got people you got to talk to and deal with, and you got ticket requests you have to turn down. So good luck with that.
Happy to deal with you, DJ. No problem.
All right. Thanks, Kurt.
All right.
Kurt Schmid, Chief Soccer Officer for Real Salt Lake. It's Messi at RSL tonight, 7:30. First kick. You can hear the game on 97.5 The Zone. To be on 1280 The Zone. And we also have tickets for another game upcoming to give away, and we can do that right now. RSL and Portland, May 2nd, America First Field. We got a 5-pack of tickets. If you want to go to the game, call our 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. RSL and the Portland Timbers, May 2nd. Call right now. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Turn it up. Let's go. It's a new era for sports radio in Utah. This is the all-new KSL Sports Zone. As always, DJ and PK kick off your mornings from 6 to 10. Then introducing the newest addition to the KSL Sports Zone. The coach, Tim Lacombe, joins Scotty G every day from 10 to 2. And as you wrap up your day, Jake Scott and Ben Anderson are there with the best sports talk in Utah from 2 to 6. Live and local, all day, every day. Your home for the best sports radio in Utah is live, on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join Scotty G and the coach today from 10 to noon at Tim Daly Mazda, 10785 South Automall Drive in Sandy. They'll be on remote broadcasting live from 10 to 2 today.
DJ, I just called up KSL.com, see what's going on. Yeah. And they had the classifieds. You can buy a horse out of Roosevelt for $25,000.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot of money for a horse from Roosevelt.
I don't know. I don't know what the going rate for horses from Roosevelt are.
Yeah, I don't either, to be honest. I really don't. But $25,000 just hits me as a big number.
Well, really? Because I thought $600,000 was nothing. Now all of a sudden $25,000.
You saved the school $600,000. $600,000. Wow.
I mean, I can barely speak. I can barely process it as so much money. I'm stunned by that number.
No, that's
paycheck is why I live in Utah.
Week take Salt Lake.
I thought
I got a big TV.
I thought that when you said you were checking that, I didn't know. I thought it was going to be tickets either to the game tonight or the game Friday, because they both thought it'd be pricey.
Yeah, and they're so pricey that I had to sell my car. That's why I was looking for a horse.
Nice. Way to bring it around. Doesn't have anything to do with anything, but way to bring it around.
Hatpack put on Twitter, man, he was going to invite 8 people into his suite Friday night. Place is going to be electric. It's supposed to be a nice day. It'll be electric tonight, too, for Messi, man.
I was looking yesterday, and it was $400 to get standing room only. There were some seats in like the $450 to $500 range. There are a lot of seats in the $500 or $600 range. And I'm looking at the Friday night hockey game now. There's an upper bowl, a couple upper bowl, 176, 190. Most of them are in the 200s. Down now, if you want to sit down by the glass, that's $1,300, $1,500, $1,600 seems to be the top price. And then there's everything in between. So.
I couldn't do it.
I know, right? $1,600 to sit down there in one of the first, I can't tell, it looks like row 4 or something.
For a first-round game, no less. Imagine if they should advance, get to the second and third round, wow, and get to and there'll be a time probably that they'll play for it all whenever that time is. Who knows? Yeah. Can you imagine? Is that what they're going to go for? And is that what they go for in Vegas? Or is this just because of the fact that, hey, this is the first time around? This is literally the first playoff game by an NHL team, our team, in town. I'm wondering how much that has jacked it up a little bit.
And also the fact that this arena has a little lower capacity as they rebuild it. I mean, it's up to about 12,000, but most of these arenas are going to be, 15 to 18.
Yeah.
There'll be a few more seats. A little supply and demand thing there.
I have a way, and it's worked for me a couple of times, of buying the cheapest seats and then being able to move down.
Magic. Look at you. Magic.
I used it in the World Series, and I got into the club level.
I'm checking Edmonton and Anaheim right here, and basically the prices are the same. Down by the ice, it's a little less expensive. There's some $850 seats right off the blue line. But up in the upper bowl, it's very similar. There's a lot of $230 seats. Yeah.
I just don't know that I could do that.
I know, and that's for one. I mean, I assume you're buying two, right? So you're dropping.
No, I'm a lonely guy.
$400 or $500 pretty quick.
Yeah, that's just my background. Coming up on a janitor's salary wasn't very lucrative in my world. It's been hard for me to shake that. I've tried, but it's hard to, you can take the cheap out of the guy, but can you take the guy out of the cheap or whatever that phrase is?
Yeah, and so you're out there, you're paying $40, $60, $80. You can do that, but you start talking $400, $600, $800, and you're like, gulp.
Yeah. Now, I don't make light of it for those folks who can't afford it. I mean, because there's plenty who literally cannot afford it, and it's a paycheck to paycheck issue.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't necessarily say I'm that way now, but I grew up that way, obviously, and so I can respect that. I respect people who go to work every day and don't necessarily get the financial remuneration for others that others do. At the same time, if you've got it and you want to have that experience, I respect that too. If that matters to you, because it's probably, if you're doing that, you're not doing that all the time. This is something that really is important to you and you really enjoy it. I don't know that you would be doing it for some random concert or a meal or what have you, but if it's something that you really wanted to do and it's going to be a memory with a spouse, an offspring, a child, whatever it might be, okay, yeah, and obviously people do it. Great, good for them. And
I do wonder how many of these are sold to companies. How much of this is corporate? I'm looking at these. There's 2 seats in the second row. It looks like you're 5 and 6 seats away from the penalty box.
Yeah, but you're looking at the secondary market right now, right?
I am, right.
I don't think corporate does that for the secondary market, do they? I mean, I don't know. I'm throwing out a question.
I think that they buy a lot of them up front.
Right.
Whether they'd be willing, that would just be a business by business thing. If you have a client who really wants to go and you're trying to do some big deal, I mean, it sounds like a lot of money because it is a lot of money. But at the same time, if some company's cutting a deal that's worth $100,000, $500,000, $1 million, whatever, $10 million, whatever it is, buying a couple tickets and entertain somebody to get the deal finished, totally worth it.
Right, I mean, so you're just doing that as a transaction. You're not going to invite your buddy. You just try. Look at you and your business mind. You're just trying to make a buck off this guy. You really have no interest in this person that he or she has a good time. You just want to close the deal. That's all that matters to you is closing the deal. Is that not true? Make them answer the question, Your Honor.
Doesn't matter to me one way or another. I'm going to be home watching on TV, or I'm going to be on a press pass in the arena.
Yeah, but in order to do it, you have to conceive it, and you've conceived it. We found out about your ruthless business mind.
I have been told stories by my bosses in radio and TV and by people who work for these clubs. This is how it works.
Okay, but if you have a situation where you're trying to close a $100,000 deal, buying someone a $200 ticket is going to do it, wouldn't that person be able to afford a $200 ticket?
They might be able to afford it, but they might enjoy making somebody else pay for it anyway, PK. Or maybe they can't, Or you just you don't see it coming. You're like, hey, I got 2 tickets. How about you go and take your kid? And they don't even get to go. The people buying it don't even get to go. They send somebody.
Well, they're not buying it, and the company's buying it.
Yes. Plenty of companies buy plenty of tickets at plenty of games across America.
So it's all sports is nothing but a big transaction to you.
Well, not necessarily to me, but to the people who are paying to sit down in these expensive seats, yes.
I just want to see Lowry Markkinen in his nice-looking hair sitting there.
We'll have plenty of time for Lowry Markkinen. All right, DJ and PK, we're taking a break. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. PK, big game Friday night. The Mammoth get their first taste of playoff victory. It's 1-1. And, the cool thing about the wins, they feel great, but also all it does, it just cranks up the expectations. All right, well, if they can get it in Vegas, then they can get it in Utah. And why can't they get 2 and be up 3-1? There's a real chance to advance here. Expectations are funny that way. It was a pretty satisfying win in Game 2, but I think it just builds the hype and builds the pressure for Game 3.
Yeah, but I don't think it has anything to do with the venue. I'm not impressed with the game, whether it be in Salt Lake or Timbuktu or Las Vegas. I think that the most important thing now is the narrative, as they say, is over about the youth and inexperience. I'm done with that. That doesn't matter. This team is not going to lose because they lack experience compared to some of the guys on the Golden Knights. They showed in Game 2, and then you can argue to a good extent, they showed in Game 1. Obviously, they didn't get that game. But in Game 2, they did. And they showed we can not only compete, we can win. And it's not about showing to ding-dongs like me sitting on their lazy boy watching the game. It is to themselves. And to themselves, they know that they are at least just as good or better than Las Vegas. And that's all you need to be right now. Worry about second round if it comes. And so when they take the ice Friday, sure, I think that in the beginning it's going to be electric and they're going to get an emotional boost about playing at home. I understand that. But at the same time, these guys on the other team, they're going to take the ice and they're going to hear all the noise and the smoke and all the bells and whistles that they have planned for the game and shirts on the back of the seats, whatever it might be. And that in turn jacks them up too, because they like to play in front of rowdy environments. In fact, you've heard many, and I know you literally have heard this, as we all have, that there's nothing more satisfying in terms of going and quieting the crowd, right? And so that gets you pumped up. So I think that sort of flushes each other out is what I'm trying to say, and it's a bit of a wash. The most important thing to me is looking in their eyes on the television and the way they played and the emotions that they were showing, that they've captured the flag in that way. They've climbed the hill. Now it's about who goes out, who plays, who takes advantage of breaks, because we know one went in off a skate. Great for the Mammoth. They were pressuring the goal, and they can take that opportunity to use that advantage. And then they scored, and the one dude, what was it? I call him Barbasol, but that's not his name.
Barbashev?
Yeah, he's within seconds. It's amazing to me how they can go, and then within seconds, one team scores, and the others just boom, and the momentum is just stalled. Well, don't have some turnovers. Don't give the opposition easier opportunities. I don't know that you really ever have an easy opportunity. I suppose you do sometimes, but don't give them easier opportunities based off of turnovers, and you get in a numbers game there where it's to your disadvantage. So that's the thing that I took from Game 2, is that I'm done with the inexperience. Now it's all about playing and who makes the plays.
The inexperience is an easy thing to point to at the start of the season. It's not a bad thing to point to because we have seen times where it's really paid off. But I think a couple things have happened here in the first 2 games that, to your point, make that storyline not an important storyline in this series. Maybe in some other series, maybe for some other teams, But with these two teams in this series, a couple things jump out. One, the turnover, and like you say, it's 1-1. It doesn't seem like – how long is it going to take to get that next goal? And not only does the next one happen at 2-1, but then the Mammoth give it right back at 2-2. But it's Sergachev. It wasn't an inexperienced guy who gave the puck away. It's a guy who won 2 cups before he came to Utah. So experience isn't the storyline on that goal. And to grab the momentum and then to give it right back like that so quick, that was a big storyline in that game. And then I think the other thing is Cooley's 21. He's about to turn 22. Gunther was 22 for most of the season, but he just had his birthday a couple weeks ago, so he's 23 now. These are the guys we're talking about who are talented but young and inexperienced. Well, Gunther scored, and Cooley scored in both games.
Yeah.
So the young and inexperienced guys, they are delivering. They're not experienced anymore. Cooley scored twice, and he had another move in the first game that just the stick handle, the puck handle, just unreal, beating multiple defenders, and then he just couldn't beat the goaltender at the end. But I mean, he can do this. And I think Vegas knows he can do it. That's why we're all lip reading, I'm going to bleep and kill you. And that you have to say that because he scares you and you're trying to intimidate him and bully him. And he wouldn't be bullied. He scored. Nobody beat him up. Nobody killed him. They did trip him, I guess, for a penalty. But he scored the game-winning goal with 6 minutes left. So I think the thing that's on display, and this goes hand in hand with the experience, Vegas is experienced, but they're also older. And who's younger and faster and more athletic? Late in that game, the Mammoth were just blowing past the Golden Knights in the odd man rushes, the transition moments, the fast breaks for you basketball fans. The speed was on full display there. Who's the faster team? It's the Mammoth. Yeah, maybe some of that's tied into the youth, and you just take the inexperience with it. So what? You're blowing by guys.
I think that for Cooley, it is totally Cooley to be Cooley right now. And they know it. I know it. I know they know it. They know I know it in terms of quality. Now, it's out there. He is a great hockey player, whether he's 21 or 31. The fact that he's 21 is super Cooley because then that means that he should have some great times ahead, as should the team. And the Bill Armstrong's talked about how this team right now may not necessarily be built to win it all. Their best teams are forthcoming, right? And that's out of, I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he said. The thing about that is we're not talking about down the line right now. This team right now, today, when they take the ice on Friday, is built to win Game 3, and it's built to win the first-round series against the Golden Knights. That's what matters. That's in the moment. I fully believe that. I believe that they put the team together, and that was the stated goal to get to the playoff. Well, the next stated goal was to win the first round. So here we are, and they're right where they need to be. Obviously, where they want to be is 2-0, but they don't necessarily need to be there at that point. They need to be here. And here they are with this Golden Knight opportunity.
Oh.
Look at you go.
And they have this Golden Friday night opportunity. See, I am willing. There's a lot of people over there on the other side on the round ball that don't really like me in that organization, but I'm willing to help market it, right? And Golden Friday night opportunity. I'm giving you that and run with it. That's what you have to be able to do that. And, if they win, and I like the interviews they were doing is that, okay, we've won Game 2. That's all that is. That's all you did is win Game 2. You certainly didn't win the series, and I don't really care about ice advantage and all that stuff. I want to have play advantage, not venue advantage, because that can only carry you so far. And the same thing on the flip side. If I'm Vegas, I'm not sweating bullets over here by any stretch. I mean, they expected a close series, and so far that looks like what we're going to get, which for me, that's what I want as a fan. I want to turn on the TV not knowing what's going to happen, and that's going to keep me enthralled. I'm not going to be bored because I don't know what's going to happen, and anything can happen. In my mind, and I don't know what the odds are by any stretch, I don't care, but it's not a long shot that either team wins. So for the Mammoth, do what you can do, play a little bit better, because I think as the series progresses, you're probably going to have to play better. But the most important thing I took from Game 2 is individually, talking about Cooley, using him as the example, this guy believes that right now I'm at the top of my game. And then collectively, these guys are not starting, but definitely believing in themselves that they could win.
That whole home court, home field, home ice advantage thing, we talk about it in every sport, but I think statistically over time, the two sports where it matters the least are hockey and baseball. Other sports, you can see a little bit of a baked-in advantage to the home team, but I think when you get to hockey and baseball, just not that big a factor. There's so many other things that are more important.
Yeah.
I think it's just the math. You don't want to be down 2-0 and have to win 4 out of 5. That's the math you're trying to avoid.
I understand that, and I buy that because that becomes overwhelming. It's just that I am so hesitant to bring in anything about home court, home ice, because I don't want my guys or my gals even thinking about that.
Yeah,
I want them thinking about the focus is playing to the utmost of your ability level on that particular, whether it's Game 3, Game 4, whatever game it might be, rather than, we're home. Because you cannot let up whatsoever. You let up, and you'll get beat 5-1.
Yes. And I think that what we've seen in this series, what it really comes down to, and if the Mammoth has learned anything, and it, I guess you know it, but it's different to actually do it and feel it and experience it. But this should be a close series and a long series. We heard that from other people, not just local homers here. Other people are like, it looks kind of close. It looks like a long series. And they are close games. And so really, you can play really well for a long period of time, but that third period, so much is going to ride on it. And look at these first two games. The Mammoth are up 2-1, but they give up 2 goals, and they give up the third with the empty netter. But those first 2 goals, they lost the third period, so they lost the game. This game's 2-2. They did stuff right. They did stuff wrong. It's 2-2 going to third. You got to win the third period. They won the third period, so they won the game. So their ability to get focused at a higher level and compete at a higher level, and Cooley in his postgame was talking about how awesome it is, and it is different, and now he knows it because he's done it, and he loves it, and he's apparently pretty good at it right away, judging by what he's done in the first 2 games. But now when they go out on the ice, I think they've got to think that. Like, it's going to be a slugfest. It'll probably be close going to third, and we got to win the third period. And if they keep winning the third period, they're going to win this series. You might win the third period and still lose a game. You might dig yourself enough of a hole. But I think on the whole, it's going to be close. It's going to come right down to the end. These next games, whether there's 3, 4, 5 of them, I think they're going to look a lot like the first 2. I'm going to be real surprised if we're sitting here watching and breaking down 4-1 and 6-1 games when we get back in here. It just doesn't seem like this is how it's built. I think Vegas knows they're slower. They were doing the graphics and showing how they had 3 guys on the blue line. They're basically just clogging it up. It's no different than we've been sitting here talking about the Jazz and teams that have come in and clogged up the paint for years. Well, they're clogging up the ice in the blue line because if they get in space, the Mammoth are just skating past them.
Yeah. I also believe that it put a little bit of doubt into Vegas's mind. This is literally their first loss since the coaching change, right?
Right.
And so now
10 games in.
Right.
They had an overtime loss, but it's the first time they've been beaten in the regulation 60 minutes.
And what does that mean? It doesn't necessarily mean, oh my gosh, we're up against it. It could mean, hey, we're up against it. We got to step up our game.
Yeah.
And it could mean that. And that could be a little bit of a refresher for them. That's what I'm saying is I really don't know. I can't handicap and say I've got a feel for this, I've got a feel for that. Not that I'm a hockey expert by any stretch, but having watched both games in their entirety and obviously watched the Mammoth the entire season to a good extent, that I'm not sure which way to go. How is it going to play out? Which means it's basically a 50-50 toss-up type of game, or series for that matter. So who is going to make the plays? And the reason why I say I'm over the inexperience, I'm more about the talent. And talent, I think, is going to be the deciding factor. And limiting mistakes. I think sports to a degree, Majerus always used to talk about that. Basketball is a game of mistakes, and the team that has fewer mistakes is probably going to win. So don't allow some stupid stuff that makes it hard, especially in this sport, especially in the playoffs, where points, or in this case goals, are hard to come by, and it has to be a similar intense focus the whole time. And because of the fact that they have these various lines, you should be able to focus for that relatively short span of time. That's why it makes it so fun to be able to turn on the TV come Friday night to see what's going to happen and then go from there. And I do think, I agree with you, the team that wins a 2-1 has a 2-1 advantage, clearly has that advantage. It's not necessarily where the game is played. It's the fact that, hey, I only need to win 2 more, you need to win 3 more, and then so on as the series goes.
You do sound like not just Majerus old school, but it's like just go back to the NFL playoffs where your coaches say that. Well, in college football for that matter too. Just limit the mistakes. Defense is at a premium. Goals are at a premium. But I think that's the encouraging thing about the first 2 games, because you're right. It is about talent. And the young guys who are supposed to score goals, they're scoring. Yeah, and I think that obviously we have people on this show who know way more about the sport than you and I know, but there's still some stuff that you and I can figure out because we've been sports fans for a long time, and a lot of our listeners can figure out. As you were talking about it when you covered the Kings. The games are on, you listen to the interviews, you get some of the basics down. 2 things that haven't gone the Mammoth way here that ought to even out a little bit over the course of the series. There'll be big benefits if they do. One, they're 1-1, and Clayton Keller, who's their leading scorer, right? Nobody had more points than that guy. He had over 60 assists in the regular season. He hadn't done anything yet. I can't believe he's going to go through a whole series without doing anything. There ought to be a Clayton Keller game or 2 in here, and that ought to work in favor of the Mammoth. And the other thing is they haven't been good on the power play. They're 0 for 5 right now, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out, well, that's not good enough and it needs to even out. Now, they were converting 30% of their power plays when they were on fire late in the season. They probably won't do that. That's probably a little too high an expectation to set. But if they could just score on 15 or 20% of their power plays, it would be different. Because that's just, over the course of 5 power plays, it means like 1 more, just 1. And 1 goal would be a big deal in any of these games. Because like you said, goals are at a premium. So between the power play and Keller, there ought to be something good out there. I can't believe they're going to go over on both of those.
Well, that's where my PK comes in.
Yeah,
and I love myself some PK. So it might be harder because of the intensity from the defensive perspective. The penalty kill becomes more paramount. So make sure that you, when you get in that situation, that your penalty kills are at least even to, if you don't score power play, then don't allow Vegas to power play you. And we saw that. I think the first goal was a power play, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this team seems to be really good at this. But then I like the way the Mammoth responded going forward, and I like that. Who was it? Was it the referee when he's making the call and somebody yelled, you heard on the mic, I warned you?
It was the referee. He's hot mic. I warned you. It's like, okay.
Come on, man. I told you. Don't be blaming me. I warned you. That's up to you.
That made it a 4-on-4 because they had a penalty, and they could have had Mammoth could have had another power play there, and they gave it away. And it was a great cut over the bench, Andre Jorny, and he just kind of stamped his foot on the back of the bench, like, oh, we just gifted him that. What are we doing? He didn't want to be too negative, but he couldn't really let it go either. He was kind of stuck in a little bit of a middle ground there.
Yeah. So I think that from the marketing standpoint of the team moving to Salt Lake, this is about as good as they could hope for. Be halfway decent, contend the first year, get the fans involved to an extent, and then the second year, get there, go to where, not only where you get there, go to where it's a drivable place so fans can go down there, because we see them when the team scores. They show the Mammoth fans in their gear, and so they can experience it. I don't know that if you would have said, this is the way it's going to be in the second year, would anybody associated with the franchise, and if they can speak truthfully, say, no, I want more. Of course you want more, but this is a great setup and a great foundation that is being laid here for this franchise going forward. This has to be comparable in a manner to when the Jazz broke through after moving to Salt Lake and getting in the postseason for the first time.
Yeah, I would say that this is better because it happened more quickly. I think to your point, yes, they want more because everybody wants more and it's human nature to want more. But if you'd said this is your timeline, I think they would have looked at it and said, okay, that's a good timeline. That's good. We can live with that.
Yeah, but I think that the Mammoth were in position to have a better timeline.
Yes, I agree with that. I mean, the Jazz were not busy winning; they were busy selling high draft pick spots and the number 3 pick in the draft so that they could stay afloat financially. They weren't. They were trying to build a winner. They were literally selling the pick that became Dominique Wilkins to meet payroll.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not comparable in that regard. The Jazz fans had to wait a little longer. I think they had 4 or 5 bad years before.
But when it happened, they knew the nucleus was of the age that it was going to continue.
Mm-hmm.
Got the same type of situation here. The nucleus is of the age that it's going to continue. We would all be shocked if we're sitting here this time next year and this team is not in the postseason.
DJ and PK, big game Friday night. Listen to it right here on The Zone. Mike Folta with a call at 7:30. Adrian Daniel will be on the air with the pregame show at 6:30. Hockey night in Utah on 97.5 The Zone. Your home for Utah Mammoth hockey. DJ and PK, when we come back, everything you missed in this show. Yes, the Slacker headlines are next. Stay with us.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Just top.
Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800. Visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. Earlier in the show, we had Evan Brennan on, NFL Certified Contract Advisor. He's an agent for the JL Sports Agency. And PK, he talked about a lot of issues. There's a lot of info in there. The NFL draft is really important. I think it's very interesting off the top. I find myself the second and third day just checking to see if local guys got drafted. But I know that there's a lot of value buried in the middle of that. And I got to say, I was intrigued when he said he'd already taken 10 calls this morning before he came on with us at the top of the 8 o'clock hour.
Oh, yeah. I'm not surprised that he's been feeling that amount of calls because this is an important time. This is the foundation of your franchise. If you're good, get better. If you're great, keep it going. If you're under 500, get over 500 and all that stuff. And the way you're going to do it, the most logical way you're going to do it is over the course of the next 3 days. And then next year, the next 3 days, blah, blah, blah. You got to build upon that. And there's other things that go into it, clearly, obviously. I mean, Sam Darnold was not drafted by the Seattle Seahawks. So you've got to have some smart moves there in acquisitions. But this is, I really believe this is the foundation piece. As far as, you know, the second and third rounds, yeah, it's something that I check. But even the first round, I get antsy. It just seems like it lasts so long. It seems like it's tedious.
So long.
And I was talking with some guys yesterday, and they're saying, you know, well, they have to do it because somebody takes somebody at 6, and you didn't expect that or what have you. Yeah, I understand that. But I also think it's a TV show, and they want to draw it out.
I know. And I think even taking 10-minute picks. Well, it used to be 15. I'm not. Are they down to 10 now, Yak? You're hardcore into this. Is it 10 minutes
it
between
seems
picks now?
like
Or is it
it's
still
a
15?
half hour.
They changed it to 8 minutes
For a
this
while,
year.
it was 15.
It's too long.
And it was 4 picks in an hour, 5 if you were lucky.
Yeah,
and
and
like, oh
so
my
they've gone
gosh.
to 8 minutes. And I actually read a story last week that NFL GMs are already complaining about an 8-minute time frame.
I got to keep it moving.
You should have 30
That's where the
seconds
TV
and
show
get up
comes in.
there.
8's better for TV, but the teams are like, oh, we need 10 or 12 to sort it out. But 8 is better as a TV show.
Yeah, I would like to keep it moving. There's only so many things I want to hear in between drafts, picks, and then, you know, the next best available. Well, only one person is going to get taken on the next best available, so the same guys are going to still be on the next best available. It's like The Price is Right. I think they should clear the contestant row every time. Why do those people get to stay there the whole time, the entire show?
Get 5 chances.
No, you get one shot, you're out. Then we do it again. It's a
4
TV
more.
show.
Listen to Evan Brennan wherever you get your podcast. It was really good. He talked, he thinks 7 to 10 guys from 4 different schools can be drafted. Some of it pretty obvious at the top of the draft. We know there's some guys who he has questions about, so we'll just see how it plays out. But I think Chase Roberts right at the top. There are a lot of guys, of these guys getting drafted. A lot of them are local high school products, PK. There was a time where guys got drafted, but it was guys who'd come in from out of state, and we see them for, 2, 3, 4 years, and then they're gone. And this is a different deal. Some of these guys, a lot of these guys actually have played football locally in high school.
Spencer Fano leading the list. Yeah.
Yes. Spencer Fano, Logan Fano, Jack Kelly, Chase Roberts. Keep going.
They're on the list, but I think Spencer is expected to go the highest. And
he will be the first one. I did see for the first time I saw a mock draft where he's out of the top 10 that he went 11th. 11th to the Dolphins as a guard.
Yeah, I have no idea about that. But the fact is, if you're going to go, you're going to be the 11th pick. And when you're 12 years old, son, when you're first year eligible in the NFL draft, you're going to be the 11th pick. What do you think? Oh, I think that
Sign me up.
Yeah, of course. And then that doesn't guarantee anything, even at that level. But go do your thing. I have no reason to think that he, barring injury, is not going to have at least a 5, if not a 10-year NFL career.
The big news in the NBA, several good storylines in the playoffs last night, but the biggest one, Victor Wembanyama hitting the floor hard, diagnosed with a concussion after a face-first fall. He only played 12 minutes in the game. The Blazers took advantage of his absence and won 106-103, so the series is tied 1-1. His status is officially to be determined for Game 3, but with a concussion, a week and a half wouldn't be unusual, so I think it'd be a little surprising if he played in Game 3 or 4, but we'll see what the doctors say. Without him, a very different team. It's another way to confirm his greatness, PK.
Oh, yeah, Big Vic. It's already, what's he in his 3rd season now? He's already proven that he's another great player that's taken at the top of the draft, literally. And so it's a major blow for this team not to have him, clearly. That's stating the ultimate obvious. I do think, though, at least now they can game plan if he's not available. And so it's not something on the fly. They can find ways to adjust, I guess. But that... he's an all-league caliber player, right? As far as him and Jokic at the 5s. Am I missing somebody that can be?
No, it's him and Jokic.
Considered really
it's
good.
It's him and Jokic, and I think the next best player is SGA, and he's obviously a different size and a different kind of player.
Yeah,
but
I'm
those
just talking
are
about the 5s, and Embiid never plays, so he's can't put him on the list. That's a major blow. If you told me he barely plays and then they lose, I say, okay, I'm not that surprised. You tell me that Philadelphia has that type of night against Boston, I'm surprised.
I was surprised. Philly beat Boston 111-97. VJ Edgecombe, the 3rd pick in the draft, 30 points and 10 rebounds. And we've been wondering, we've been talking about how the top 5 teams got 5 good players. It doesn't look like there's any busts in the top 5. It's possible that in 5 or 10 years, if we redraft this, the same 5 would be the top 5. Now, maybe somebody else will blow up and we'll want to move them in there. But it doesn't look like there are any busts. And Edgecombe, my gosh. The thing that sticks with me from last year's draft is how many Uten Cougar fans watched him because they're watching the Big 12 and are like, that's the Jazz guy. And when they're saying it, he's like 10 or 15 in mock drafts. And he just keeps climbing, and in the end, he's gone at number 3, and they have no chance to get him at number 5. He just flew right by him on the draft board. And for good reason. Look what he's doing. Everybody could see it. It's no fluke.
Yeah, I had him at 4 in my own because I would have had Ace Bailey at 3. And then Edgecombe, because he's got an NBA body. He's wasn't a string bean. Everybody needs to get stronger, blah, 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 when you're that young. But it seemed like he could come in and step in. And then with Embiid constantly being down and Paul George seeming like he's not the same player, the opportunity was going to be there with him and Maxey to have success right off the bat. Now, if I'm Boston, just like I said with Las Vegas, I'm not sweating bullets here. You still got to find a way to get 3 more. And certainly Boston is capable of winning it anywhere. And I would be surprised if Boston, with a Jason Tatum back and has been back for a good length of time to where he should have the rust off from missing the early part of the season. If they lose, that would be a shocker to me if they lose the series.
I would be really surprised if they lost. I think they're the favorite to come out of the East and go to the finals, and so to see them go down in the first round would really surprise me.
Yeah, I agree. Especially against a team that isn't even close to full strength.
It was a game. It happens. There were a lot more sweeps in the first round when it was best 3 out of 5, best 4 out of 7 demands a little more. So I'm not surprised if Philly took a game. Maybe I'm surprised they took that game, but
yeah.
The Lakers are up 2-0, and again, PK, it's LeBron has a great game, and guys who we view as role players. I mean, Marcus Smart, defensively, I don't think anybody questions him, but offensively, it's always been a little hit and miss with him, and maybe a little more miss than hit. And wow, 25 points, 5 of 7 from 3. I mean, he'd be an MVP candidate if he did this on a regular basis. He doesn't, but he did in this game. 25 points, 7 assists, and 5 steals. He had a massive game for them.
And Kennard was right there. Yeah,
He was. He wasn't as brilliant as he was in the first one, but he was still 23 points, 3 of 6 from 3. Hit all 4 of his free throws.
I thought he was really good.
Yeah, he's having a really good series.
6 boards, 3 steals. I'm looking at the stats right now. He's not an assist man, so he's never going to pile up those types of numbers. I thought LeBron just had a decent game. It wasn't anything like it was just, oh my gosh, LeBron. I mean, because he's really good, so we understand that. LeBron did what he's capable of doing, and
I think that's the wow factor. You're right. It's not like the dude's never gone for 28, 8, and 7 before, but that he can do it so effortlessly and quietly. And at the end of the night, 28 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. That's a massive contribution to a win. But you're right. He's had a bunch of better games, but it was still a really good game. I mean, he got to the free throw line a lot. His major contribution there, 10 of 14 at the line.
Smart and Kennard replaced Reeves and Dunseth.
Yes. Yeah, if those two had gone for 25 and 23 and the Lakers had won the game, we wouldn't really think anything of it. Right. But it's Smart and Kennard, so we do think something of it.
It's funny that each team only had one guy off the bench score.
I know. I was at the bench and can get so short. Now, they did play other guys, not big minutes, but 4 other guys for the Rockets played. Eason came off with 10 points in 27 minutes. And I don't know, 32 minutes, and it combined 0 for 11 shooting. Yikes.
And I always thought that was what was going to do them in. Once Van Vliet went down, their bench is pretty weak.
Right. And the Lakers bench 3 guys play 33 minutes, including the former Jazz man, Jared Vanderbilt, and they're a combined 0 for 6. And then Jackson Hayes gave him 6 points in 21 minutes, most of them at the line.
Yeah, I don't understand why Vanderbilt thinks he's a three-point shooter from the corner. I think I'd rather have Derek Favors shoot it.
Yeah. Vanderbilt's there for the energy and the rebounding. And he did give him 5 rebounds in 14 minutes.
I know, but I always see him take corner threes and miss them.
He missed 3 of them. Yeah, he missed 3. So I get your point. I'm not debating that, that's for sure. We spent a little bit of time this morning talking about Messi and Inter Miami tonight. America First Field, Real Salt Lake, a perfect 4-0 at home. And PK, it's a classic thing with the event is a big deal. Messi is just such a massive name. Brian Dunseth was on with us yesterday. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts. And he was talking about how Messi, not only the best active player, but he's even, in Brian's mind and Dunny's mind, he has surpassed Pele. He is the guy. So it's a huge show, and the circus is in town and all of that. The season will go on. The team has to, as Pablo Mastroeni, I'm sure, will tell us next time he's on to the next game and how do you keep improving. But you can't ignore the show and the circus tonight.
Are you going to try to get an autograph?
No, I doubt I'll even be in the same room with him. I don't think it works like that, PK, as you know.
You can go down there at the end of the game.
I don't know that they'll do. We'll see what their media availability is.
Oh, he's got to talk. Come on.
We'll see what their media availability is and how they run that.
And if you tell them you want to talk to him, I think they'll bring him out.
Who? We'll see if they bring him into the post-game press conference. They usually don't bring in the visiting team, but they have sometimes. LAFC came in and was in the press room last year. So streaks, the Mets 12 straight losses. How do you explain this? They're good enough to win one occasionally, but they blow a lead at home and lose 5-3 to Minnesota.
Well, Minnesota's Twitter handle put out a thing that said things you can get by the dozen: roses, eggs, and Mets losses.
So clever. Isn't it funny that for a long time, like newspaper writers and the media in general, but newspaper writers and headline writers specifically could take a lot of heat. That was across the line. That was too much. And now teams have their own social media account, and they just can't resist taking shots.
No decorum these days. And you're speaking from someone who's but a spiffy headline or two in my day.
Right? You ever take any heat for your headlines? I know you didn't get credit for some of them you thought were pretty clever.
By my own people.
Yeah, but did you take heat?
I think that Gordon gave me crap when he wrote that the series was over when the Jazz went up 1-0, and I put that in boldface to make sure that Jordan saw it.
Cubs have won 7 in a row. They beat the Phillies, who have lost 7 in a row. Despite Schwarber going deep. Doesn't seem to matter. Bees are on the air tonight. Tony Park's on the call. 7:50 on 1280 The Zone. The RSL game will be on 97.5 The Zone. DJ and PK, when we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Scotty G and the coach Friday from 10 to noon at Tim Dahle Nissan, 11155 South Jordan Gateway in South Jordan. That's coming up Friday. PK?
Yeah.
Breaking news this morning. The Kansas City Royals think they have a stadium deal. Crown Center
something?
downtown.
Yeah.
You've been to that one, right? This will be one you'll have to – this will be a new stadium you have to check the box to get them all.
Yeah, but they haven't even broken ground, have they?
No, this is something to put out there, I don't know what it'll be, 3, 4, 5 years down the
Right.
line.
I mean, I'll probably be dead by then, so I won't be worried about it.
They've been at Kauffman Stadium in the burbs for 50 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we got people commenting San Diego, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Baltimore. Downtown baseball is the best.
Sure, but, the Mets
Dodger Stadium's not terrible?
Well, it's close to downtown. Philadelphia is close to downtown.
San Francisco, close enough to downtown. You can walk it. It's not downtown, but you can walk it.
Yeah, depending on where you're coming from. But they have other public means of transportation, too, that can get you there. So I would say in the city rather than, literally downtown. I get it.
What's Arizona have? Is that right downtown?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's absolutely. Colorado is close enough. Yeah, it's at the eastern end, but it's okay. There was one I was going to think of. Atlanta is not. They actually did the reverse. They moved out to the burbs with the Truist Park.
They did.
And I've told you about that. And
Built
I know
their own town around it.
That Steve Starks is very much aware of that, leading the cause and the charge to get the ballpark here for the Salt Lake and the Utah area, obviously. And
here wouldn't be downtown. It'd be close. It would kind of be a San Francisco situation.
Well, but I think that what you build around it can make it a portion, even if it's not literal. It's an entertainment center is good enough. I mean, Atlanta's off the charts.
Yeah.
People will go there.
But see, Atlanta literally went to the burbs and built a town around it, whereas Colorado and San Francisco didn't go exactly downtown, but they went close to downtown.
Close enough, yeah.
And then stuff has sprung up around it in both cases. And that's as opposed to like Chavez Ravine is close to downtown, but it's surrounded by a massive
That's what the
park.
Cardinal Stadium did on the west side there. Like they call it Westgate, if I remember. When it was out a ways, obviously. They never were downtown because Sun Devil Stadium, although that is within 5 miles of downtown Phoenix, but that wasn't downtown Tempe. So you can get ways around it without it literally. And I think that when, hopefully not if, the Millers do this, it will be one of those ways that'll be around it, and it'll actually be an attracting area. People will go there to do other things besides go to the game. The game obviously will be included. Wrigley Field has done that too on the one side of the stadium. They've put up a bunch of stuff. They already had it on the front side, but down the left field line side, they built a whole bunch of stuff there too.
Our question of the morning, if Steve Kerr is done, what is his legacy? Donovan Mitchellstan says he's one of the most influential basketball figures of the last half century.
Ooh, what does that mean?
I don't know. As far as a player, he was at the cutting edge of the three-point shot. Probably would have had a better career if he'd come along a little later. Hard to argue since he ended up winning 5 championships, but I think he would have had a bigger role.
He was just a bench player. He
barely
slight.
started in his career at all. Came in, shot threes. Yeah. Corey, a coach who didn't screw up the super teams he was handed. Nothing more, nothing less. I actually know Corey.
I think there's got to be more than that. You got to give him credit for winning.
Yes. And for keeping it going. I mean, 4 titles over about a decade, that's pretty crazy to be at the top that long, especially because some of the years in there, they were wrecked by injuries.
And he had to deal with Draymond. Come on.
He did. Took some real talent there.
Yeah.
Got caught with a mic once. I'm so tired of his bleep and bleep.
I don't blame him.
I know, right?
Yeah.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're all done. Scotty G and the coach are up next.